Hello, ladies and gentlemen. And today is Thursday night, April 5th, 2018. And welcome to a very special episode number 100 of the Beyond the Ring with Big T Wrestling podcast here tonight. I'm your host, Big T, right here with you. And boy, do I got a treat for all the wrestling fans out there tonight. I'm so very honored and so very privileged to introduce my next guest on show number 100. He is he's definitely a big name in the professional wrestling industry, and he is responsible for sending 54 major superstars into WWE and TNA from Ohio Valley Wrestling. We got the man of the hour here tonight, Mr. Kenny StarMaker Bolin. How are you doing tonight, sir? And welcome.
Well, I'm doing marvelous. That was absolutely a decent introduction there. I've had people do a lot worse than that, and sounds like you've done your homework a little bit. And this should be a very privilege and a very deep honor for you to have a man of my stature on your show. My pleasure to be your 100th episode. That means you've done 99 others, and that may be all that means. I have no idea. But here we are, and I know that as I take a look there, it looks like I'm having the fearmonger interview me tonight. It looks very dark over there. It looks like there could be a possible hostage situation going on. I'm looking for maybe a gag in your mouth and a blindfold, and people making you say things you don't want to say. Looks like you see how bright and lovely it is here, and I'm wearing the Bowling Club hoodie. The BS logo on the sleeve. We got the logos in the background. There's probably people on my couch I don't even know are here. We got my dog 2Cow here. And this is how you dress a studio up, son. This is how when you're taking your podcast. But then again, I've been doing this for 14 years, and it took me 13 years before I ever put all this shit up. So you got a few episodes to go, I guess, before the pressure's really on you to have to deck your place out with banners and logos and all that shit. And might I add, the number one merchandise seller on Collar and Elbow. They pay me. I don't pay them like a lot of those jackasses that I happen to run into. Oh, I'm sponsored by Collar and Elbow. No, you're not, motherfucker. You paid to be with Collar and Elbow. They pay me, and I'm the number one merch seller. I beat Al Snow. I beat the Hurricane. I beat Luke Gallows. I beat them all, son. You know why? Because I'm a salesman. I'm a master salesman. I push and I sell my merchandise. I don't sit around waiting for jackasses to order it from Collar and Elbow. They sell my stuff. I sell my stuff. And ain't nobody a better salesman than me. And the only thing that I don't like selling were turnbuckles and monkey flips. Now, we can go ahead and get this show going here because I've been caged up like a lion lately. I gashed my knee open real bad, and I've been out of commission for about a month, and it even hurt me to sit here. I haven't even been on Facebook and Twitter. Look at there. You turned a goddamn light on. We can actually see now. I suggest you turn the light back off.
Yeah, I mean, well, I figured I got a light here. I figured why not? I just
why not use the light? Why not? Well, I saw why not. I see why you sit in the dark now, looking like you're a hostage over in Iran or something.
Yeah, I'm trying to hide this big ugly mug here, you know?
Look at my big mug. My mug's just big as yours is, and I proudly show mine off. Anytime anyone ever sends me a friend request on Facebook, you know what I send them? A digital high-quality picture of me. That's what I send them. That's the first thing they get. And then if they write back with a thumbs up or what's up, I delete them and I move on to the next fan. That's what I do. All right, so here you are. You're in the podcast business. You get in the podcast business with the opportunity to interview big stars. Here you are doing it, and you seem mighty excited to be doing it. I'm sure I'm the biggest star you've ever had on this show. So now who have you had? Just before we cover that, name me your top 3 big stars you've had on this show other than me. Who have you had?
Top 3 stars that I've had on this show is the Patriot Del Wilkes.
Who?
The Patriot Del Wilkes.
Del Wilkes, I think, follows me on Twitter. I haven't met him in person, or if I have, it was very briefly, but pretty good guy from what I hear. So Del Wilkes ain't bad. I mean, he's not as famous as me, but that's not bad.
Number 2 would be Stone Cold Steve Austin's ex-wife, Miss Jeannie Clark, a.k.a. Lady Blossom.
Wait a minute. I thought that you were going to list Del Wilkes number one, and I could have sworn to God you were about to say number two was Stone Cold Steve Austin, and then you throw the loop on me. Stone Cold Steve Austin's ex-wife. Which one? He's got two or three.
Jeannie Clark,
Jeannie
aka
Clark.
Lady Blossom.
What did Jeannie Clark do in the wrestling business?
She
Educate me. What did she do? Now I remember. And now what was the one after her?
The one after Jeannie, I believe, was Deborah.
Yeah, Deborah, the one that used to date that football player, the Chicago Bear, and then she left the Bear and ended up with Steve Austin. And of course, I have two of the highest-rated episodes ever done on the Steve Austin show. I don't mean to brag, but I'm pretty good at it, so that's what I do. But okay, so Jeannie Clark. Now, what did Jeannie Clark do in the wrestling business? You're scooping me here. I didn't even know she was in it.
She was actually a valet back in the day. She was a valet for Stone Cold and a couple other wrestlers.
So she valeted Stone Cold before he was Stone Cold. Is that right?
Yes, back when he was still like Stunning Steve.
Stunning Steve. All right. Well, that would explain that. But no, I was not aware of that. So you've educated me a little bit today. All right. So number one was Del Wilkes. Number two was Jeannie Clark. All right. Who's number three?
Number three is got to be Buff the Stuff Bagwell.
I'm aware of who Buff Bagwell is. And Buff, he ends up in Kentucky a lot for some reason. I'm not exactly sure what his ties are here. Excuse me. But he ends up down around Somerset, Kentucky quite a bit. And I would say that I'm more famous than Buff the Stuff because, you know what's amazing about that? I was never on worldwide television other than in John Cena highlight reels from OVW. I was on a couple of Raws, but I was on as an extra, kind of in the background. I was on there when Kane went nuts in the back in Lexington, Kentucky, and started choke slamming people all over the parking lot. And I was on that show, and I think I was in the background on another, and I've been in countless highlight reels. One of my claims to fame is that I was on highlight reels on Raw, SmackDown, Sunday Night Heat, ECW, and one other show that they ran, Superstars or something like that. And I was on and WrestleMania. I was on all 5 shows in 1 week, which they said no other even contracted WWE star has done that. And I did it not even being contracted with the company, other than to train and develop their talent. But I got in every highlight reel with John Cena. So me and John Cena are the only ones that have been on every show in 1 week. And I was on WrestleMania about 6 years ago, and I was on for like 2 seconds in a highlight reel. And you won't believe how many emails, phone calls, Facebooks, and I don't even think I was on Twitter back then. But you would be amazed what 2 seconds on WrestleMania will do for your level of fame. I barely saw it. Everyone in my house, oh, Kenny, look, you're on WrestleMania. Because I had a big WrestleMania party. We had about 10 people over. I barely saw myself on there. And I'm like, no one saw that. And then my Twitter, Facebook, and email was just lit up. Well, not Twitter, because I don't think I was on Twitter then. But it's amazing what 2 seconds on WrestleMania do for your level of fame. So that was pretty cool. And then I just was told that I was the only one who's ever been on every show, including WrestleMania, in 1 week. With me and Cena. We were the only two. So that's pretty cool. This interview is going to be real easy and real good if you just shut up and let me do all the talking. I think it's going to be a smooth running little interview here. But it is your show. It's your 100th show, and this is a big deal for you. And if the biggest stars you've ever had on here are Del Wilkes, Peggy Clark, is that what you said her name was?
Jeannie.
I bet Peggy sounds better. I bet Steve Austin's done forgot her name. I bet he don't know if her name was Peggy, Jeannie, or Jeannie C. Riley, or whatever her name was. And then the third was Buff Bagwell. Buff the Stuff. Yeah. All right. Well, they're all going to come in second, third, and fourth place now that I've been on your show. And I guarantee you, I don't know what their downloads was. I don't know what their views was. But your records will be set tonight. You check with me in 30 days. And I don't even know when these shows aired, but I promise you that within 30 days, I will surpass every one of those. And within 1 year, I will combine beat every one of them. And I don't even know what your downloads are. That's how confident I am that a guy who's never been on worldwide television will defeat all three of those who have actually been on worldwide television. I never have been except for in highlight reels and as a background extra, never as a featured talent. And isn't that a shame? Isn't that a shame that at age 58, I'm still better, more talented, and better looking than most everybody you've ever had on your show? One of them wore a mask. Dale Wilkes wore a mask. I wouldn't know what he looked like today if I saw him out in the street. And I hear that Stone Cold Steve Austin's ex-wife should have wore a mask. I've heard that. And Buff Bagwell wore a big hat with his picture on the top of it. Now, how ugly must you be to have your picture on the top of a hat? Pretty bad, in my opinion.
That's right.
I see you wearing a cross there, but there's going to be a lot of cussing on this show today, so you may have to go to confession. You might have to go cleanse your soul when you're done, because I am one of the most famous known agnostics in the world, but I also help a lot of people. I'm one of the nicest, sweetest agnostic people you'll ever meet in your life, better even than a lot of Christians. So you Christians take that. I bet you I've done more charitable work than most of you combined. So now we're pissing off all the religious people. Who else can I pick on? I'll think of something.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll think of something.
I'm in a mood tonight, man. It's been a while since I've actually sat down and done a podcast. I haven't done my own. So I think we're going to do that next Monday, as long as I haven't pissed my host off to where he's quit by then. So, but that's coming up soon. So go ahead and ask some more questions. Now, do me a favor. You may have to scratch this whole show. You might just have to sit back and I'll just do a 55-minute monologue and save this little show for you, because I'm not going to sit here and answer questions that have been asked over and over and over again for the last 14 years. You come up with some good questions. You ask me questions that maybe someone else has never asked me before. Can you do that? All right.
I'll give it my best shot.
You just nod your head yes. You don't even have to speak. You just say yes, sir, and no, sir, or go and just do that. All right.
All right, so let's get the show on the road.
What do you mean? We're not on yet?
Oh, we're on. We're on. I mean the interview part of it.
Oh, okay. Well, let's do the interview part of it. Being as I've eaten up the first 15 minutes with a monologue, this is the Jay Leno Open. Here's what we've done.
And it's a nice monologue from the biggest star in the wrestling business.
Well, one of the biggest. The biggest is never on worldwide television on 3 or 4 different networks. Well, I will say that. And I am the greatest manager because I managed 54 people from dirt and put them into the WWE, TNA, and even a couple that mingered over to ECW. And you name me another manager that's done that. I love Paul Bearer, one of my dearest friends. He never did it. Jimmy Cornette, come on. He can't even get the Midnight Express into the Hall of Fame for crying out loud, or himself. Bobby Heenan, one of the greats, never took 54 people from dirt, but I still rank Heenan over me just out of respect. Heenan was one of the all-time greats. So I put myself number 2 in the history of great managers. I put myself number 2 very humbly. So go ahead. Don't bore me, boy. Don't bore me. Don't make me do Foghorn Leghorn for the next 45 minutes.
Oh, I got you. So let's start it off with let's go back to the beginning. Let's make this kind of like
I was born in Lexington, Kentucky by my mother, Ma Bolin, and I was born in Lexington on March the 16th, 1960. That's the very beginning. Is that how far you wanted to go back?
Not that far.
Not quite that far. Okay, I just checking. You said the beginning, and that was the beginning. When Kenny StarMaker Bolin was born in Lexington, Kentucky, at Good Samaritan Hospital, right down there in downtown Lexington. And I said, wait a minute. I come out of my mother's womb, and I looked around. I said, where am I born? Lexington, Kentucky? Is this the home? Doctors were amazed I was talking. Are you trying to tell me that I was born in Lexington, Kentucky, the home of Kentucky Wildcats? Well, this is bullshit. So we're going to do 2 things. One, I'm going to crawl back in my mother, and I'm going to go be born in Louisville, down there where the Louisville Cardinals play. Or somebody's going to get me a goddamn Greyhound, going to get me a bus ticket, and I'm either going to Louisville, I'm going to Florida, down there where the Hurricanes play and the Miami Dolphins. But I ain't going to be born in Lexington, Kentucky. So the doctor said, well, you're the first baby that's ever spoke on the day he was born. So what we're going to do is we're going to get you a Greyhound. We're going to ship you and your mother down to Florida. And that took them 3 days. And that kind of irked me a little bit. I had to stay 3 days in Lexington, Kentucky. And I want you to know they got a Greyhound. And on day 3, I was flipping a bird to the Kentucky Wildcat fans as I was rushed out of Lexington and bussed down to Tampa, Florida. And that's where I lived for a couple of years. And then when I felt the coast was clear and it was safe and that the stink of Lexington was off of me, then I moved back to the LaGrange, Kentucky. And that's where I made my home for many years until I moved to Louisville. And then I sampled Nashville and Atlanta and Indianapolis and Fort Wayne, Indiana, which was disgusting. Milan, Indiana, which was even worse. South Bend, Indiana, which was even worse than all of them. And I finally said, well, Indiana sucks. I ain't never going to live here. And then I went back to Louisville, Kentucky in 1990, and that's where I've been ever since. And that's when I established my fame and fortune at OVW Television, which I made famous, which I put on the map because no one had ever heard of OVW before I got there, and ain't nobody heard of it since I left. So that means I made OVW what it was, because tell me, nobody ever knew of OVW before 1997, and nobody's known about it since 2012 when I left in 2012. That's a great movie, by the way. I'll just let y'all know. If you want to see a great movie, watch 2012. And that's when I left OVW, and they went down the toilet hole on that day, September the 12th of 2012. That's when they crashed and burned. And I've been doing pretty good ever since. I actually make more money in the podcasting business than I did in the wrestling business. You got something to say?
I just wanted to tell you guys.
That's how it all started. If you wanted the very beginning, now what do you want to know?
I see. I'll tell you a few of what our fans are saying right here.
What are they saying? Are they trying to say bullshit that I didn't talk on the day I was born? Is that what they're saying?
People actually,
they don't know and they weren't there. You don't know if I spoke on the day I was born or not. So don't you question it, because you weren't there and you don't know. I say I did. It's my word.
Never question the StarMaker.
Never question the StarMaker. If I'm speaking, it's probably the truth. Matter of fact, I got a book over there that I wrote called I Probably Screwed You Too, the mostly true stories of Kenny StarMaker Bolin. You can get those now discounted $10 this year because it's been selling like hotcakes since the first 2.5 years it was out. And I've lowered that price from $29.95 to $19.95 signed and delivered to you with a little bit of shipping charges. So if you want to get that book and actually learn something about the wrestling business and the StarMaker and all the various people that I've had dealings with, including Mark Cuban, if you want to read about that, and me, Mark Cuban, and John Cena, that's all in the book. I'll grab a copy of it here in a little bit and show you. I even sell this DVD. It's not really time for me to start selling my shit yet, but that's a DVD cover of me and Cornette. Couple of the shows that we did. I got a couple of DVDs I have that feature me and him that I still sell, even though I don't speak to him anymore because he's a dick. But that's another story. We might even get into that before this show's over. So what were you wanting to know? How long is the show? We've been talking about it half an hour now, and you ain't said dick. So I think it's time you speak.
All right, sir. My first question for you is,
sir,
I know you get asked probably all the time, what are your dealings like with John Cena and this and that. I'm gonna go back a little bit, and I'm gonna ask you, how did it come about for your interest in pro wrestling? How did you fall in love with the business, and what made you decide that this is the line of work that you're going to get into? And how was the StarMaker born?
Actually, not a bad question. I don't get asked that really that much of how my interests were developed. How it started is I used to watch wrestling with my grandpa Bolin in Eminence, Kentucky. Eminence and Newcastle were the two cities that he primarily lived in back then. And when I was about 5 or 6 years old, I would sit at my grandpa's house and watch wrestling, believe it or not, out of the Cincinnati area, which was Detroit wrestling. That was run by the Sheik. And so that was the, excuse me, that was the first wrestling that I had ever watched. And then me and my dad started watching it in the late 60s and 70s when Nick Goulas was the promoter. And that's when we would see the fabulous Jackie Fargo and Kurt and Carl Von Bronner, the Mighty Yankees, the Interns, and Dr. Ken Ramey was a great tag team back then and a great manager. The Bounty Hunters with Cashbox Kent, Jimmy Kent, he was known and later became Cashbox Kent. Saul Weingroff was a great manager back then that managed Kurt and Carl Von Bronner, and Jackie Fargo and Tojo Yamamoto, who was the first wrestler that I ever managed. Jerry Jarrett, who basically indirectly trained me and developed me for pro wrestling, him and Jerry Lawler, because those were the two. I learned how to be a babyface from Jerry Jarrett. I never had to use it because I was never a babyface one day in my career. And I learned how to be a heel from Jerry Lawler. I absolutely, at 12 years of age, loved Jerry Lawler the first time I ever saw him. I said, man, that's pretty cool. And when he became Jerry the King Lawler in 1974, a name which he stole from me because I was known as the King of Kickball at LaGrange Middle School in LaGrange, Kentucky. And he heard all the kids used to call me King. So he went away for a little while. And when he came back, he had a robe and a crown and started calling himself the King. And this is the God's honest truth. Jerry Lawler stole the name King from me, but I didn't mind. I took it as a great honor that because at 14, I didn't know I was going to be in the wrestling business yet. And so I took it as a great honor. Well, I got in the wrestling business by age 27. My intentions were to be in the business by the time I was 18 or 19. It took me till I was 27 to get in because a guy named Jimmy Cornette was running around blackballing me from getting in, which I didn't know till much later than life. But he was cock blocking me on getting in the wrestling business from the day I started trying to get in because he realized not only was I a better wrestler than he was, he realized I was a better manager than he was. He realized that I was better on the fly than he was. But he was better at prepared material than I was. He can recite anything. He memorizes everything. He never invoked a gimmick or a promotional stunt that he didn't steal from somebody else. And this ain't anything I ain't told him to his face, ladies and gentlemen. Don't think I'm talking behind his back. Jimmy is a master reciter and probably a master baiter, which I was a master debater. Folks, those are two different things. Master debater is one thing. Master baiter is another one. I was a master debater. Jimmy, probably the other. So Jerry Lawler is what made me want to get into pro wrestling and to be a pro. And I really thought that I wanted to be a pro wrestler. And then after a little bit of wrestling in high school, I was 212 at Oldham County, 212-0 at Oldham County, never lost a match in my life. Beat Jimmy Cornette's ass countless times, more time ever. God, I wish I could count all the times I beat his ass. Just to show him who was boss, who the alpha male was. And he knew, he had no doubt. And this is all documented stuff. Anybody that knew me from Oldham County knew that Jimmy was basically my little bitch for the whole time that we were friends. And that was fine. He knew his place. Well, when he got in the wrestling business and got a little bit of fame going, and now it was my time to come into the wrestling business, and I thought maybe Jimmy and I could feud. We could be on the same team. I could be his co-manager. I could be his assistant. He could be mine, whatever. That shit never happened because Jimmy didn't want any competition. He didn't want Jimmy Hart around him. He didn't want Kenny Bolin around him. He didn't even want downtown Bruno around him. He was worried and jealous of downtown Bruno. Can you imagine that? Who would be scared of downtown Bruno? But Jimmy was. So that was the big problem with Jimmy, is that Jimmy didn't want any competition. And even when he started Smoky Mountain Wrestling, I said, well, Jimmy's obviously going to be the promoter. He's had his little run. Now it's time for Kenny Bolin to shine. Kenny Bolin will be the top manager in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. You know what I was at Smoky Mountain? A backstage assistant and occasional ring announcer. He never once used me as a manager. He never once used me to feud with him. He never once had me align with him. I was the ring announcer in backstage production, still trying to shield me from wrestling, even though I had already started with Nick Goulas in Nashville, Tennessee. Even though I had a pretty good little run without him, even though I'd been in a little group in Kentucky that I don't even like to mention their name, to where I got my start with Dennis Corluza when he was doing some work here with the NWA, and then even ended up, at Ohio Valley Wrestling. And then when Jimmy saw that I'd made a huge name for myself at Ohio Valley Wrestling and was running shots around here and was the biggest star on their show as a manager and a commentator, Jimmy couldn't hack it. So he called his friend Danny Davis, and he come down here, and he wanted to be a part of OVW. He wanted to be the matchmaker. He wanted to be the booker. He wanted to be the commentator. And he actually fired me on his first day at OVW. Fired me. And told me that if I was going to be a success on OVW television, that I'd have to go out and recruit my own talent. I wouldn't be given anybody. And that if I could recruit talent that was beneficial to the show, then I could be on the show. And that's exactly what I did. I went out and got Mr. Black. I went out and I went to the prison, and I recruited Bull Buchanan. I got him an early release date. which eventually led to me getting Mark Henry, which eventually led to me getting Sylvester Turkey, which eventually led to me getting John Cena and Rico Constantino. And then the ball kept rolling from there. John Heidenreich. You might as well say I developed Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton as well, because them feuding with us is what got them their fame. And that's how the ball got rolling. But basically, if it were not for Jerry the King Lawler, I would have probably had no interest of being in the wrestling business. But I was fascinated at how good he made people hate him, at how easy he made people believe what he said. And I'm still to this day, Jerry Jarrett, my own co-host of my own show, say they never know when I'm working or shooting. Well, that's when you're doing your job good. You're not supposed to know. I'm supposed to know. You're not supposed to know. And now some people know me well enough that they got a pretty good idea when I'm working or shooting. But if I don't want you to know, you won't. I could probably say things to you right now that would make you cry and turn your camera off, because you would think I meant every word I said. But as for now, at this current moment, I like you and I won't make you cry, because you're doing a good job. You're letting the big star talk, and you're sitting there holding the microphone.
I appreciate it, sir. And you know what? I always
wearing your little cross, hoping God's going to protect you from me. But I don't know that he's good enough to protect you from me. He might not be able to stop me, because if I go off on you, God ain't going to come around. He ain't going to help you. He might help you afterwards. He might let you come. He might let you come to church and say, oh, why did you let the king do that to me? Why did you let him say all those horrible things? And he would say, well, the king is the devil. Kenny the King Bolin, he's the devil. And I can't stop him. I don't know.
I got to ask you a couple
This
of
might
questions.
be one of the greatest shows I've ever done, because you don't say much.
Well, it's like I always say, when people come on this show and they're a guest on my show, my name might be on this podcast.
Yeah.
But when the guest comes on,
well, wait a minute. What's the name of this podcast?
It's my podcast name is the Beyond the Ring with Big T Wrestling podcast.
Okay, so Big T does get worked in there. Okay, all right. I knew it was Beyond the Ring, but I didn't know that Big T was a part of it. So we all learn something every day.
And even though my name's on it, I always say, whenever the guest comes on, whenever it's their interview time, it's their show, not mine.
Well, that's how you do. Like, I'm going to have John Bradshaw on my show coming up very soon. And I might even shut up and let Bradshaw talk a little bit. I'm not sure. I'm thinking about it, but I may even let him talk a little bit. Just depends if he starts bringing the show down or not. If he starts dragging the show down, then I guess I'll have to jump in. And as a matter of fact, I'm planning on having Kevin Kelly on my show real soon, too. Kevin Kelly and I had some dealings in the WWE days when they were contracted with us. And I really like Kevin. He's a real good guy. And he's going to come on my show later this year as well. So those are two shows I'm looking forward to. On the Bowling Alley, my show, where I call the shots. Sounds like I call them here, because I haven't really let you say a whole lot.
Hey, you know what? You're the king. You have the right to do that.
I do have the right to do that. I'm still a demanding little bitch. Goddamn. Speaking of that, it looks like Maya left the house. Unless she's in the bedroom with my dog. Nah, I don't see her. Oh, well. Yeah, my daughter-in-law was here hanging out, but she was off in the background.
Oh, okay.
So so we've heard how the king was started in Lexington, Kentucky. We heard how I became the king through my great love of Jerry Lawler's work. I was fascinated. As a matter of fact, Jerry Lawler and I became friends when I was 14. He gave me the tights he turned babyface in when I was 16. And we've actually been dear friends ever since. But he's a little irked at me right now. He doesn't know I know this, but he has me muted on Twitter, because everybody who knows me knows my disdain and hatred for Donald Trump. And, oh, King, you can't talk politics. You're going to piss half the audience off. No, I'm not. I'm going to piss 24% of the audience off. And the 24% I'm going to piss off are normally white, racist, backwoods fucks who like Trump and actually think he's good for America. And I don't give a fuck if I piss those people off or not. So I don't concern myself with those 24%. I worry about the 76% that agree with me. And you say, well, King, where do you come up with these numbers? Well, science and technology came up with those numbers. Hardly anybody voted during that election because they thought Hillary Clinton had it in the bag. I thought Hillary Clinton had it in the bag. Every expert on television thought Hillary Clinton had it in the bag. Well, what we didn't know is that Trump's somehow a rich, spoiled ass bitch billionaire who was hand fed every dollar he ever got, filed bankruptcy more times than I can count, including Trump University. And boy, there's an education for you. And we underestimated, and I say we meaning the country, underestimated his ability to motivate these undereducated people that are backwoods with little education, because that is the most of his following. That's just science. That's just technology. If you look at the little maps, the inner cities where all the educated people are voted for Hillary Clinton. The suburban areas all around the world, or not the world, but the country, they're the ones that voted for Trump. It's blue where the education is. It's red. I think I have that right. I forget which one's red, but basically the majority of the Republicans were the uneducated backwoods people. And obviously there's some educated people that vote for him, but these are people that are rich and like to keep tax dollars. You didn't think we was going to go off on here today, did you? So, I don't want to make this a totally political show. I can do that on my own show, but people that know me know I hate Donald Trump. So there we go. I'll just leave it at that. I'm going way too deep into this on your show. I have no need to do that. I'll do that on my own show.
I'm sure that's made for some arguments with you and Jerry Lawler.
Yeah, Jerry's a big Trump supporter. I don't know why. Jerry Lawler's from Memphis, Tennessee. He ran for mayor in Memphis. And how do you run for mayor in Memphis as a Republican? Memphis has a lot of poor people in it. Memphis has a lot of blacks. They have a lot of foreigners. They have a lot of Hispanic. And those people, as a rule, do not vote Republican. Republicans look out for the rich and for themselves for the most part. And apparently Jerry has adopted that way of thinking. I would not thought Jerry would be that way. Sputnik Monroe was loved in Memphis because he was for the poor people. He was for the blacks. When people tried to ban blacks from wrestling shows, Sputnik would go buy 50, 60, 100 tickets and pass them out to the blacks and invite them to come in and sit ringside if they wanted. Sputnik was so popular in Memphis that they said that the pictures that would hang in people's houses, in black people's houses, was a picture of Jesus, a picture of Martin Luther King, and a picture of Sputnik Monroe. Those were the pictures that hung in people's houses back in those days. And I have great respect for that. I like to help disadvantaged people. I like to help poor people. I like to help foreigners. I like to help anyone who is at a disadvantage. This country was built on foreigners coming into our country and making it a better country. That's what the Statue of Liberty is about, and how anybody can stand up there as a Republican and act like the Statue of Liberty and salute the Statue of Liberty, and then try to keep out foreigners, trying to worry about this caravan that's coming up here, where basically only 200 of those 1,000 people are trying to get into America to begin with, and that we would go through the trouble to deport them and kick them out of the country because they want a better life for their children. Most of those people are from Honduras, which is horrible, which is terrible. Jobs are almost non-existent there, and the ones that are run by crime and gang organizations. And the only reason they're coming here is that they want to work hard and have a better life for their families. They're not even bringing their families. They're just coming here to work. And this country was not built on kicking those people out. But that's what Trump stands for. And that's why I hate him so bad, because we got to help those people. We don't hurt them. We don't kick them out. Yes, if you've got a criminal record, yeah, don't let them in. This is real goddamn easy. When they come to the border, check them out and run their backgrounds. And if they have a criminal record, don't let them in. And if they don't have one, let them in. Let them work. All they do is take the jobs that white people don't want anyway, for the most part. And then some of them advance and get better jobs. But they start out at the bottom, man. They start out servers at Golden Corral or Steak and Shake or what the hell ever, or working in a tobacco field, or work picking bananas or tomatoes or what the fuck ever. And they take the jobs that most white people don't want. And they are really absolutely necessary for America in order for America to function. Because if you take away all the foreigners that do the jobs that white people don't want and do it at a fraction of the price of what white people want, agriculture goes away. There's nobody to do the jobs. There's nobody to be able to get that merchandise to you. Nobody to pick it. Nobody to process it. And it's not that that's all they do, but many of them come here happy to do that because they're making 10 times the money they were making in Honduras, making in the Philippines, making in Mexico or wherever. They're only coming here to have a better life. The same reason that my dad came here, who's German. Well, he came here with his father, who was German. So dad was a child who was brought in. Should they deport my dad? My dad's a third generation paint contractor. His father was a second generation paint contractor, and lived in Norfolk, Virginia, and that's where my real father lives. So going by Trump's rules, we should have deported him. He came over here to get a better life from Germany because Germany was the shits back then. And boy, this is not a wrestling show at all, is it? But it just eats me alive that anybody could think that they're better than someone else because of the color of their skin. I was raised by pretty much a racist family. I was taught that, oh, black people are bad. Black people will steal from you. Black people ain't good. Mexicans aren't good. I mean, I was raised that way. But by the time I was about 11 or 12, I started saying, you know what? I go to school with some of these people. These ain't bad people. I don't see many of them because out in Oldham County, in the 60s and 70s, you didn't see a lot of blacks. You didn't see a lot of Hispanics. And then as I got into high school, we started to see a few more filtered through. And what I noticed was that those were some of the better people I knew. These are good people. They're hardworking people. They're nice people. And then I'm raised by a family who's telling me how horrible these people are. You don't want them in your neighborhood. You can't leave your stuff out at night because they'll steal it. I mean, this is all bullshit. I know more white thieves than I know of foreign thieves. And to label people with that degree, like Trump has done, they're letting in their rapists and their murderers. Bullshit. You know what the number one problem with this country is that our soldiers come back mentally fucked. And I guarantee you, if you look this up, there are more soldiers who have killed people here in America in the last 10 years in mass murders than any foreigner you can pick out. Mexican, ISIS, Arab, whatever, pick one. And I guarantee you that fucked up soldiers, and I feel bad for them. It's horrible what they do, but they do it because they're mentally fucked and no one gets them any help. And that is the number one problem in America, is that we don't get our people the mental health treatment that they need. And that's why these horrible things happen. We can't blame it on the people from Honduras, the people from Mexico, the people from Turkey, the people from Syria, the people from Iran or Iraq. That's not the problem. That is a tiny fraction of any crime that goes on in this country. But you just keep watching the news, and almost every time something horrible happens that people are getting really fucked up and shot up real bad is a disgruntled or mentally fucked soldier who didn't get the mental help he needs because he went to war at age 19, and now he's fucked in the head, and no one's getting him any help. So he does something horrible. And so I can't say anything bad about these people. It's bad what they do, but they're doing it because they're not getting any help. And boy, I'm fucking your show up real bad tonight. So, but we got an hour to fill. I'll fill that son of a bitch. Don't worry about that. And if you disagree with me, you disagree with me, but facts are facts. And if you look up the facts, just look them up and see how many soldiers have killed people in this country in the last 10 years.
That post-traumatic stress syndrome that they have is terrible.
Oh, it is. And I know a lot of them. I know I've had some live by me that scare the fuck out of me because they'd come over to my house showing me their weapons of mass destruction that they think they've got. I got a maintenance man that came in my apartment the other day to let me know that he had guns that would penetrate a tank. I said, well, why do you have guns that would penetrate a tank? Well, if the government ever turns on me, I said, well, if the government turns on you, that's going to be the military. You were in the military. Do you see this as a problem? You were in the military. Do you think the military is going to turn on you? Well, if they do, I'm ready for them. I said, no, you're not. Oh, I got a gun that'll go through a tank. Well, fantastic. Do you think if for whatever reason the government wants to get your ass, do you really think they're going to send one tank? Do you really think that you've got a gun that will stop everything the military is going to send? No, you're totally fucked. I don't care what bunker you got. I don't care what hand grenades you got. I don't care how many AK-47s or 45s. I don't even know the names of these fucking guns. The R15 or whatever the fuck that is. I even named one gun the RKO 56 that Randy Orton must have invented. So it's just all just fucking, they build these bunkers and stock all these guns because they think they're protecting themselves from the military. No, you're not. If the military wants to get you, you're fucked. I don't care what you've got. Oh, you might pick off the first guy that knocks on your door, but once you do that, that's when they're all coming for you. And I don't see that as a problem. I don't really think anyone gives a fuck about anybody around here enough to send the military to fucking get you. And if they are, you've done something wrong and they're probably coming to get you for a fucking reason. So just don't fucking shoot anybody. Don't cause anybody any fucking grief. And I don't think you'll need all these guns. I'm 58 years old. I've never owned anything more dangerous than a fucking slingshot. I've never even owned a goddamn BB gun or a pellet gun. I've been thinking about getting a paintball gun because I figure if I put 50 marbles in a paintball gun, I can keep your ass out of my yard long enough to call the police on you. So that's as dangerous a weapon as I have, is a fucking slingshot, which, by the way, I got pretty good at. These are my favorite shows where I don't talk about wrestling at all. I just piss people off that like Donald Trump. Those are my favorite shows.
Hey, it's just like
Donald Trump love me. If you love Donald Trump, you hate my fucking guts. And that's fine. I'm cool with that.
It's just like Mr. Eric Bischoff once said, controversy creates cash, got to ruffle some feathers.
Well, let's put it this way. I'm not going broke or poor over here sporting out my opinions about Donald Trump the last 2 years. As a matter of fact, my income is probably better now than it's ever been. And I was, oh, Kenny, you're chasing off half the audience. That's what they told me when I was on podcast 1 over with Vince Russo. Oh, Kenny, you're pissing off half the audience. They're all unsubscribing. They're all leaving us. Well, that's what the Trump supporters were telling him. Oh, we hate Bolin. He says horrible things about Donald Trump. We're leaving. We'll never listen again. Well, guess what? When I joined the Vince Russo Network and joined podcast 1, it turned out after 90 days, it turned out that their ratings were up 22% from the time that I joined the show. I single-handedly raised their ratings 22%. So 50% didn't go away, folks. That would mean the ratings were down 50%. I increased it 22% on what were already pretty damn good ratings on Podcast 1 and the Vince Russo brand network. And then they say, oh, well, maybe we should let just Bolin say whatever the fuck he wants. But then some shit happened with Jeff Lane. I ended up leaving the network anyway. And I left a pretty damn strong network. That would be like me being the anchor on the NBC Nightly News and then me leaving that show because of something I didn't like. That's a big move. Do you think Lester Holt's ready to leave the NBC Nightly News? Something real bad would have to happen there, or something irritate him real bad before he would ever leave that show. And I left Podcast 1. So that tells you I was pretty irked at what I was dealing with a couple of people on that network. I have no problems with Vince Russo whatsoever. But there's 2 people there that if they ever come in my yard, won't leave walking. I despise them that bad. So I don't have to drop their names. Everyone knows who it is.
Now, how about we do some attention to Ohio?
Yeah, I'll drop the politics for now, maybe.
Hey, if you want to go back to it, you can.
I guess. How deep into the show are we? We're going to try and do about an hour here. How deep are we in?
We're at about 40 minutes right now.
Yeah, we can easily do 20 more pretty easily, I think. Being as 35 of it's been bitching about Trump.
Let's talk about 2 more things then, 2 or 3 more things.
Drinking some Asian tea here from Yankee Noodle. This is an Asian coffee, and this shit is amazing. It is a sweet coffee. I went to Yankee Noodle for the first time. I guess everybody, let me see if they can see that there. They're in Louisville, Kentucky. They've got about 3 Asian stir fries, you see. I think they have 3 stores here in Louisville. I don't know if they're around the rest of the country or not, but if you have one in your area, they're extremely affordable. We got a shitload of food tonight for $10. For me, my son, and his wife, and then a German friend with mine, and he dropped about another $10 on food. So for $20, we're sitting up here eating like goddamn kings. And then my son said, well, you need to try the Asian coffee. I said, well, what about it? And he said, well, it's sweet. I think you'll like it. Well, this is my 4th cup. And this shit is good. It's an Asian iced coffee. I think with a, I think it's Taiwan based, some type of Taiwanese. I don't even know if that's a word. God damn, it's good, and I'm going to be going there a lot. That was my first trip there tonight. But Yankee Noodle here in Louisville, Kentucky. So we'll give them a little plug. They're not paying me a penny, but they're going to.
Maybe they'll give you some free coffee, you know?
Oh, trust me, they will. We'll let them know about their plug. Yankee Noodle. If you're in Louisville, Kentucky, go to Yankee Noodle. Tell them Kenny Bolin sent you, so I can go up there and get me some free Asian food.
Now, going back to OVW, I'm not going to ask you, you know, the typical questions. What was it like working with John Cena, or what was it like working with Brock
Correct.
Lesnar?
No. Cena was fine. He was all right to work with. He wasn't the loyal Bolin Services guy like Rico Constantino, Paul London, Aaron the Idol Stevens, who went on to become Damian Sandow, Mike Mondo, Dolph Ziggler. He wasn't one of the loyal BS guys like they were. But he was an amazing talent, but Vince McMahon didn't get it. Vince McMahon wanted to let Cena go. He wanted to let Rico go, and it took me, Jimmy Cornette, Danny Davis, and of all people, Stone Cold Steve Austin to save their jobs, and especially Rico. Cena never knew he was about to be let go. We didn't know if he could mentally handle it or not. We didn't aim for Rico to find out, but he did, and he knew he was about to be let go. And then Steve Austin found out about it, and they said, "This Rico's an amazing talent, man." They said, "When's he coming up?" They said, "Well, actually, Vince just gave him his 90 days. He's been let go." What the fuck? They let Rico go? What the fuck? Well, we're going to have a meeting about that. So we had a meeting orchestrated with Stephanie McMahon, Steve Austin. I didn't actually go to that meeting. I was just in on kind of getting it put together. And I think Jimmy Cornette went in on that meeting. I don't think Danny Davis went in on it, but me and Danny put in our 2 cents worth. Even on Cena's DVD, the first DVD they did with him, you see me and Danny saying how great he was. And then Vince is on camera saying, I didn't get it. I did not get the Cena thing. Well, it's a good thing he eventually got it, and a good thing they ended up not letting him go. And then Rico got an extended 5 years on his career after Steve Austin went to bat for him. So, yeah, if it weren't for Austin, Rico would have never been seen in the WWE. Rico the Stylist, do you remember him?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I had that great angle he did with Billy and Chuck, and Bischoff was involved in it as the preacher. That was one of the greatest angles ever. They fooled everybody. Not 5 people in the WWE knew what was going on with that. They fooled everyone. They brought Bischoff in that makeup from the beginning. They all thought it was some old man hanging out in the back that was going to do the marriage. They had no idea that was Bischoff. Fooled everybody. I think Triple H knew, Stephanie knew, Vince knew. Pritchard claimed he knew, but he didn't, because I know for a fact he didn't. But he's trying to tell everybody he knew. Rico said no. Pritchard did not know. He found out when everyone else did. So Pritchard lied about that. What else is new? Pritchard's like Donald Trump. He lies a lot just out of habit. He tells 5 lies a day, whether he even realizes it or not.
Yeah, and he's got his podcast going on now too. What is it? Something to Wrestle With or something like that. I know he's got.
I don't know. All I know is they put out horribly bogus numbers. Their numbers are nowhere near what they claim they are. We proved that. They use the same bogus system that Donald Trump used to get all his Twitter followers. Trump has nowhere near the Twitter followers he claims to, because he used one of those illegal phone banks that did all the dial-ups and everything to get him those followers. And you pay a certain amount of money, you get X amount of followers. Well, that's what Trump did. And Bruce Pritchard's bunch, the guy that works with him, Clay, whatever his name is, they both use the same system to get all those followers. And, it is what it is. I have my number of followers, and they're real, and I'm very proud of that. It's I'd rather have 7,800 real followers than 50,000 bullshit followers.
Who were some of your best guys that you worked with in OVW, and who were some of the guys that you worked with that just resisted you or bucked heads with you?
The best that I worked with that listened to every word I said and knew I had their back would have been Paul London, even though I didn't manage him too much exclusively, he would come to my house for advice and hang with me and my son. And if we gave him advice, he always took it. And he was a pretty good talent when he got here as well. We didn't have to really guide him too much, but we were just trying to teach him how to function around here and how to get through the rules and regulations of OVW. Rico Constantino absorbed every ounce of information that I gave him, and because he was brand new, he'd only had 12 matches under his belt when he got here, and I'd been in the business when he got here for fucking 15 years, I guess, and still learning even in the 70s. I mean, I've been absorbing and learning the wrestling business since 1974. That's when I gained access to the back and met the stars and learned from them, because I knew from age 14 wrestling wasn't real. And hell, I remember going to the gardens in my 20s and fans in the seats in their 50s thinking what they're seeing is real. So the advantage is that I knew it wasn't real, but I also knew what I could say to the wrestlers and what I couldn't. Because if you at 14 act like you know the business, they're going to get you the fuck out of there. You had to know your place and know what to say and what not to say. And fortunately, most of the time I knew that. Every now and then I'd slip up and fuck up a little bit, but for the most part, I knew. And where was I going with this?
You said
to work with who wasn't. Sylvester Turkey was a dream to work with. He was real good. Paul London, Rico Constantino, Mike Mondo, Dolph Ziggler, who hell I done forgot what his name was here. I should know. I can't think of it. I know he went to Kent State University. I do know that. And he used to travel with me and Mike Mondo, and he's gone on, and I felt done very well for himself. He gets less out of the WWE than he should be getting. He should be getting a lot more. And the worst to work with for me, and most of them know this, is that me and Ken Doane really had our problems when he was here. I told everybody he was not ready to be called up, but they called him up anyway. And Ken Doane's a lot better guy now than he was when he was here. He ended up having some drug problems, faded out in the WWE rather quickly. But now he writes children's books, and I think he has learned from his mistakes. Actually, Ken Doane and I, who was born on my birthday, March 16th, is actually a pretty good guy now, from what I understand. We're friends on Facebook. I despised him when he was here. I had no use for him. I didn't want to manage him. They made me manage him. Paul Heyman was here then and made me manage him. I didn't want to. And the other one was Rene Dupree. Rene Dupree, God, so difficult to work with. Had no clue, for a man who was raised in the wrestling business, of how shit worked, and was just such a, what's the word I'm hunting for? Just thought he was entitled to everything. Didn't think he had to play with the rules. Didn't think the rules applied to him. And for a guy who was raised by a millionaire, he was a fucking mooch and a half. As a matter of fact, OVW threatened to withdraw the money from his check to make him pay for a television that he bought from me. And I think he'd paid me like $30, and he still owed me $250. Couldn't get the money out of him for shit. And Danny Davis says, hey, you start paying Bolin his money, or we're just going to take it out of your fucking check. So you figure it out, but you better pay Bolin his money. And it killed. So, and Rene had his problems. And from what I understand, he's married to an Asian girl. Everyone knows I love Asian girls with a passion. And he's married to an Asian girl. And from what I understand, Renee's doing better these days too. But when he was here, he was a fuck up. And I'm not saying anything I haven't said before. And ain't nothing I wouldn't say to his face. Probably have said it to his face. and on a couple of podcasts. But yeah, Ken Doane, Rene Dupree were probably the toughest to work with. The Miz was a bit of a prick. I managed him for a little bit. He went to the WWE, and everybody I told in the WWE, when they said, well, we're going to call these guys up, they found out immediately that I was right. And normally Cornette agreed with me. We had the same assessment of all these guys. And so they were the toughest. But yeah, I loved Mike Mondo to death. He was a good guy. He had a couple of issues. I hope he's got those issues straightened out, because I never dreamed that shit would ever affect him. But I hear he's doing better these days too. So, and he even got to do some Raws here a while back. So that was good for him. And I think him and Ken Doane, did them. And so, yeah, I used to be very unforgiving to people who were involved in drugs and shit, but so I try to cut some people some slack. And as long as you're trying to do better and trying to quit and trying to improve, and don't let drugs fucking ruin your life. I mean, it's sometimes hard for me to judge because I've never drank, I've never been drunk, I've never taken drugs or anything like that in my life, and here I am pushing 60. So I think I got that part licked. And I was very critical of those that did it. So now I've cut that back to where I despise the dealers. Fuck the dealers because they're just trying to push an agenda and get people hooked. And the users, I try to cut a little slack too because once they get hooked on shit like that, it's very tough for them to get off. And my respect is for people like Macklemore. Macklemore used to have a drug problem, and he does very well now. He actually said the hardest part of not doing drugs is not the traveling and doing the shows, but when you're home on downtime and you're away from the fans and you're away from the events, that's when it's the hardest to avoid drugs. And I bet you wrestlers probably have the same problem, would be my guess. Drugs has been a very big problem in the wrestling business. They don't like for you to talk about that. Everyone wants to think that steroids are the main problem. The wrestling life is very, very difficult, very hard. I didn't have to do the things that most WWE stars and even TNA stars have to go through and have to do. The constant bumps every fucking day, every fucking night, and then the practices and the trainings, and you're still taking these outrageous fucking bumps, and you're getting 10 days off a year sometimes, it seems like. And even when you got a day off, they want you to do personal appearances. It wears you down. It works on you. And anybody that gets through a WWE career without doing drugs, and I'm telling you, there's not many. There's not many that get off scot free. That either don't have a drinking problem, a coke problem, a marijuana problem. It seems like all of them got fucking something going on. And I'm not trying to be critical. I'm not trying to be judgmental, but that seems to come along with the business. Even people I know that have never touched a drug in their life, you give them 10, 15 years in the wrestling business and they do. Well, I never developed anything like that because I never had to do all that shit. I didn't have to do all that traveling and have all that pressure on me. I mean, my traveling was confined to a 7-state region, which mainly we stayed in 3 or 4 states: Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, Tennessee. That was about it. And occasionally in the other 3 states that border Kentucky. Excuse me. I've been developing a cough here. So I've tried to be less judgmental of the people that do have the drug problems because, I forgot one of the greats that I love dealing with was Lance Cade. Lance Cade had no drug problem whatsoever, was a sweet kid, called me dad. And then Lance Cade got injured working a match. I forgot with who. It was Bob Holly. Bob Holly was apparently on painkillers, and he hurt Lance Cade in a match, which caused Cade to get on painkillers. And then Lance Cade entered himself into a drug rehab center. But when he did that, WWE lost interest in him. So here he tries to improve himself, tries to get better, doesn't want to be addicted to drugs. But when he entered himself into a drug rehab center, they lost interest in him and faded him away. And I'll be damned if Lance didn't die of a drug overdose in his father's bed. After shortly, I mean, he'd just done a 2-hour podcast with me exposing the WWE for how they fuck you once you try to get better. I mean, he got on drugs because of them having a drugged up wrestler that fucked him up. And that's the story right out of his mouth. I'm not talking shit on Holly, but and Holly tried to fuck Rico up too. Rico despises Bob Holly. Got no fucking use for him whatsoever. There's lots of wrestlers that are scared to speak up on him that have told me the same thing. And Lance Cade just called him right out, you know. And so most of us here in the Bolin household have absolutely no use for Bob Holly whatsoever. He really ruined a couple of guys' lives and careers because he worked fucked up, and he was an angry fuck who never got over as much as they thought he would. And he fucked up at least 2 of my friends' careers and basically helped kill one of them, in my opinion. And I'll never back off of that either. I mean, if it weren't for Bob Holly, Lance Cade would still be alive today. Now, that might be a strong statement, but I truly believe it. And my son knows the story. Lance told us from his heart. Lance cried telling us what he went through with WWE. And then here he goes on his own to enter himself into drug rehab, and then they just fucking bailed on him. Even though there's been countless others that have the steroid problems and this, that, and the other, and they keep pushing their careers and their agenda. So this was a lot of deep shit that I've never even talked about on my own show. But like I said, I like to bring out something different on no matter whose show I do. And, but no, I got no use for Bob Holly whatsoever. He was an OVW and was one of the most miserable pricks I ever dealt with in my life. Cornette couldn't give two shits for him either. He had to threaten to send him back because he was just so miserable and angry and wanting to fuck with everybody and just a miserable fuck. I mean, I got no use for him at all. If he was on fire in my yard, I wouldn't even bother to piss on him. I'd just let him fucking burn out. So there's my opinion on Bob Holly.
Mr. Bolin, I appreciate you sharing all with us fans. It's
well, that makes up for the Donald Trump shit.
I want to ask you for the last question of the night.
All right.
If you can talk about it, because I know you said in the beginning you may talk about it on the show if you feel up to it.
Yeah.
What is going on with you and Jim Cornette right now?
Well, nothing really. Jimmy and I were best friends for 41 years. I had developed a friendship with Vince Russo. Jimmy got real pissed about that. He said I was not being a loyal friend. How dare you side with my enemy? Well, Jimmy years ago sided with one of my enemies. I had no use for a guy, a little piece of shit fuck named Tim Ash. It was a matter of fact, I've heard word from people that he said I better keep his name out of my mouth. Fuck you, Tim Ash. Drop dead and go to hell. Tim Ash fucked me out of a lot of money. I hate even bringing his name up, but I want people to know the piece of shit that I can't fucking stand. And if he ever thinks he's going to threaten me, he's got another fucking word. He's got another thing coming. There's ever a little hunk of shit that ain't never going to fuck with me or my son, he's the one. So fuck him. And he fucked me out of a lot of money, backstabbed me on a lot of deals. He worked his way into my trust so I could get him action figures signed, which I did many, many, many times. And then he started trying to steal money from me from sponsorships, from Six Flags deals, undercut my deal at Six Flags, undercut my deal at Paul Miller Ford, and then told Danny Davis that he actually got us that deal, which was not the truth, which Paul Miller Ford, Star Ford, had to tell him, no, Kenny Bolin got the deal. We don't even know who the fuck Tim Ash is. But he'd already gotten 6 of my checks by that time. So I had absolutely no use for Tim Ash. But Jimmy, he was the biggest mark in the world. He would stooge out for anybody that had WWE attached to their name. And he was a big mark for Jimmy. He was a mark for me too. But boy, if you had WWE slapped on your name, he really lost his fucking mind. And so he did all kinds of stooge work for Cornette, and he helped Jimmy put his Midnight Express book together. Well, Jimmy knew how much I despised this piece of shit, and I told him he was a low-life scumdog piece of shit. And I would really appreciate it if you would keep him away from our shows and don't have any fucking thing to do with him. Well, Jimmy ignored that wish because he was doing free work for Jimmy and getting him his book done. So he said, well, fuck you, basically, Kenny. I'm going to be friends with Tim Ash because he's doing stooge work for me. And I'm going to take the stooge work, and whether you like it or not. Okay. Well, now he wants me to hate Vince Russo because he hates Vince Russo. Well, I'd met Russo before, and he was fine. I met him down in Nashville and was a good guy. So years go by, and I have not spoke a word to Russo out of loyalty to Jimmy. And then finally, me and my son are going, you know what? We've heard a lot of good things about Russo. And yeah, who gives a shit if he wrote a bad wrestling show or two? Who gives a shit? When the Attitude Era was at its tops, Russo was the one writing it. And so who gives a shit if you wrote a bad wrestling show or two? Is that worth hating somebody over? I said, no. He said, well, what do you think if we get Russo on our show, or maybe we do Russo's show? So we finally got his trust established. And the crying guy, David Wills or Willis or however he pronounces it, got us hooked up with Vince Russo. We do a 2-hour show with him on his show that went great. He comes on our show and does about a 2-hour show that went great. Some record numbers on our downloads of like over 175,000 in 30 days. And we determined, you know what, Russo's a pretty good guy. So we decided we're going to be friends with Russo, whether Cornette likes it or not. Well, he lost his mind. He didn't speak to me for like 2 or 3 months. And then he finally gets fucking over it. He banned me from his show for like 8 months. And then he has me on the show and we debate about why I like Russo and why he don't. Which the fans even said, you know what, we think maybe Jimmy's being a bit of a prick about this. And even a lot of Jimmy's own fans were turned on him. Now, not his base. He's like Donald Trump. He's got a base that when Jimmy acts like a fucking idiot and a fool, people love it. They love it when he gets kicked out of restaurants or when he goes off at Wendy's. They think that's cool. I think it's unfucking believable that you treat people that get minimum wage like dirt because you didn't get a hamburger served the way you wanted. I mean, give them a chance to fucking make it right, but don't go off on these poor people. I mean, goddamn, they're in there working for minimum fucking wage, doing the best they can to feed their families, but yet you got to degrade them and call them racist names because that's just what Jimmy does. And so that's the part of Jimmy I never cared for. I mean, you just can't fucking treat people like that. But Jimmy was a privileged child, just like Donald Trump, not to the level of Donald Trump, but he never had to work a day in his life. The closest thing to work he ever did was being a photographer. His mother took damn good care of him. And even to the day his mother passed away, she always took good care of Jimmy. And his mother was a saint, by the way. There's no better woman on planet Earth than Thelma Cornette. She was one of the best women I ever knew. But she took care of Jimmy. But Jimmy was an only child, and he was raised and treated as such. So that's why he has such trouble getting along with people, because he didn't really even meet people till he met me. He didn't associate with anybody. He didn't have anybody over to his house. Jimmy didn't spend the night with anybody. I was the only person he ever come to spend the night with. I was truly his only friend. And then he met Weasel Dooley, and him and Weasel became friends. But Weasel was like Jimmy. He lived a sheltered life, had no other friends. And I had lots of friends, even though I was a bit of an asshole and arrogant and very confident for a poor kid from LaGrange, way more confident than I should have been. And but Jimmy and Weasel were kind of shut-ins that didn't really deal with anybody. So now they've been worked into my life. And here I associate and buddy up with any and everybody. And then these two just pretty much were friends with each other. So Jimmy basically lived a very sheltered life, and I opened him up to people. And it didn't really help him as far as getting along with people that well, because it don't take too much to piss Jimmy off. And hell, he's even had trouble with Bill Apter and Meltzer and a couple others here recently because of just unbelievable, to worry about the Young Bucks and the various others in the wrestling business that he has problems with. I mean, goddamn, it's fucking wrestling, A lot of people do stupid shit that I don't approve of and don't care for, but I don't hate anybody enough to wish them fucking dead over it like he does Vince Russo. So I just think that's a sickness that he needs mental help for, that you wish somebody dead. Now, he claims Russo cost him a lot of money. That's not true. Russo was picked by Jimmy, by WWE, for a job that they had to pick between Jimmy and Russo because Jimmy couldn't get along with Russo. So they picked Russo. And then they go to TNA and the same thing happens again. And they picked Russo over Jimmy. And that's just the God's honest fucking truth. He can like it or not, but that's what happened. And so he claims that Russo cost him a shitload of money. Well, if that's how you want to look at it, but if McDonald's picked Jimmy over me and they hired Jimmy to work at McDonald's, and then me and Jimmy end up at Burger King, and then they picked Jimmy again at Burger King over me, Jimmy didn't cost me shit. They made a choice. They picked Jimmy over me. Get the fuck over it. Go to Long John Silver's. That's just, you can't blame a guy. And when the company made the choice, so he didn't cost Jimmy shit. But Jimmy sees it that he cost him all this fucking money. And that's just a sick way to view it, in my opinion. But Jimmy's base buys that shit, and they like it. And I say Jimmy's base because it's so much like Donald Trump. Jimmy, for his base, can do absolutely no wrong. He could kill somebody in a Wendy's drive-thru, and they would love it. They would think that's just fucking funny. And I don't see it as funny. So, but no, it does not look. Jimmy and I patched things up when my mother died on January the 5th. We were good for 12 days. And on day 12, I accidentally put Jimmy on Vince Russo's show. Jimmy called my home phone while I was doing a show with Russo. I said, Jim, I'm doing a show right now. I'll call you back when the show's over. And then Jimmy says a few things that he regretted saying that were on Russo's show. And I said, okay, that's great. I said, I'll call you when I'm done with the show. And Jimmy basically admitted to lying to somebody to get out of doing something. And Vince Russo said, did Jimmy Cornette just admit he's a liar? I said, yeah, he did. He said, does he know he just did that on my show? I said, no, he don't. Oh, my God, Mr. Bolin, do I have permission to air this? And I'm going, oh, fuck. Well, there goes mine and Jimmy's friendship again. And I was right. Once Jimmy realized he did that on Russo's show, he lost his fucking mind and he hung up on me. And he never spoke to me again. And I said, well, that's it. You know, I'm not going to play this fucking game anymore. He's a fucking child. He's 5 years old. He won't fucking grow up. And fuck him. I'm not going to cater to him anymore. I'm not going to bow down because he's mad like a little 5-year-old baby. So if he'd have called me and said, Kenny, I was wrong, and I wish I wasn't on Russo's show, and Russo even took him out of the show for me. I didn't ask him to do it. He knew by my facial expressions and my actions that I really did not want Jimmy's voice on that show, even though he had every right to air it. Russo called me 6 hours later. He says, Kenny, I don't want to be the reason you and Jimmy break your friendship up again. He says, I'm not going to air that. He says, I will keep all your expressions in of how sick you were after the show, but I'm not going to air that. And I said, Vince, I appreciate it. I said, I wasn't going to ask you not to air it. And I said, I'll tell you why. I said, I knew you would call me and that you would do the right thing. I said, now me and Jimmy are still never going to speak to each other again because he's a fucking baby and he won't get over this. But I do appreciate you being the bigger man and doing the right thing. And Vince never did air that part. And me and Jimmy have not spoke since, and we probably never will again. It's just, I'm tired of playing that game. He thinks he's fucking better than me. He loves to rub the fact that he's a big deal and he thinks I'm not. And am I in Jimmy's level fame wise? Probably not. But I didn't have to buy any of my Facebook followers, or I'm sorry, Twitter followers, because Jimmy's too scared to go on Facebook because you have unlimited characters there and people can eat your ass alive on their replies. Twitter, of course, you're limited, and Jimmy feels safer there. So whatever.
And you know what? You shouldn't have to go back and forth with anybody. You know, you shouldn't have to do it.
No, you're right, and people have pointed that out to me, including my son, my ex-wife, and countless other people that have said Jimmy has only wanted you to be successful if he can somehow take credit for it. Any success you ever gained on your own that did not include him, he always shit on it. And he did. And that's just the God's honest truth. Jimmy never wanted anything good to happen for me unless he was in on it. And that's just the God's honest truth. So I would say we're pretty close to that hour, aren't we?
We actually are. We're at about an hour and 10 minutes or so.
Are we an hour and 10 in? All right, I'll give you one last question to wrap the show up with.
All right. Well, how about this? How about we make the last question segment of the show?
Let's do this. Are there any questions in the YouTube that anybody wanted you to ask me?
Let me take a look and see if any of them left questions here.
Or if any of them said, Bolin's a fat fucking piece of shit. Time to shut up. Because I hear that sometimes too.
Let me see what we got here. Well, we do have some people here that agree with you that Fort Wayne is very disgusting.
They must have been there or lived there.
Got a couple people saying Kenny Bolin is the man, and one fan says, I love cussing. She says, Bolin, I love the devil.
They love me then. Love the devil and love cussing.
So basically everything here is just all out of love. It really is all out of love.
I love them too. Thank you very much, guys.
If anybody has
and this will post later so people can see this later as well, right?
Oh yes, this will be uploaded. It'll upload automatically right here on the.
Yeah, because I do the same thing. I do Google Hangouts, and then we upload it just immediately once we're done, and fans have access to it from there. So if anybody wants to write me on Twitter, I'm at StarMaker Bolin. If you want to write me on Facebook, I'm / StarMaker Bolin. I'm on Instagram, but I don't do much on it, but it's there. And I think Maya, my daughter-in-law, does probably more with that than I do. And my email, if you don't have Twitter or Facebook, you can reach me at kennybolin@msn.com. My phone number is, yeah, right.
We do have one question from a fan, Mr. Bolin.
Sure. Yeah, if Rocky, you have questions, this is the time to ask it.
He's going by the name of Rocky here. He's actually a loyal viewer of my show, a subscriber.
Rocky.
He's asking, I wonder what Mr. Bolin's thoughts is on Jimmy Cornette slapping Santino.
Well, I'll tell you what my thoughts are. I was there the night that it happened, and it was a coward slap because he knew that Santino was in a position to do nothing about it. He did it in front of all the boys, which one of those boys called the WWE and ratted Jimmy out, and he was fired the next day for it. And it was a coward's way out, and I'll tell you why. He would have never have done that with him and Santino in a room by themselves because Santino would have beat the absolute dog fuck out of him. Santino had all the boys around him, knew that the boys would defend Jimmy over him because they want to save their jobs. They're not going to help beat the fuck out of Jimmy. Number one, Santino would have not needed that help. Santino is a fucking master shoot fighter and a hell of a cook, by the way. I've actually had some of Santino's cooking. He was one of the class acts that was ever here at OVW, and I love Santino myself. And but he did not respond correctly to the boogeyman. The boogeyman came over and Santino laughed at him. I too would have pulled Santino inside and said, "Hey, when the big fucking monster comes over at you, you sell for the fucking monster. I don't care if you're in developmental class or not, or in WWE training class. You sell for the monster because when you laugh at him, the fans laugh at him." I would have had the same talk with him. And so he said something about, well, I didn't know how to respond. Okay. So Jimmy slaps him. Can he respond to that? And so now Jimmy claims he slapped him 50 times, which is bullshit. He slapped him 2, maybe 3 times. Jimmy never slapped anybody fucking 50 times because I guarantee you by about slap 4 or 5, Jimmy would have been begging to have his arm back. But Santino, out of respect, did not hit Jimmy back, even though he could have stomped his ass in a fucking heartbeat. And give me a second. I think I got a sneeze here. Bear with me.
Okay.
Oh, and that time of year, guys. Oh, the pollen is out in Louisville, Kentucky. And but no, Jimmy would have never laid a hand on him if it was 1-on-1, and Santino would have fucking killed him. Jimmy knew that he had all the boys to have his back, and knew that Santino wouldn't touch him. And then, of course, Jimmy was fired the next day. And then, of course, they had this meeting here in one of these towns, and then they kind of met in the hallway. And Jimmy was didn't look like he was in any fighting mood that day because Santino was not going to have any of his shit. And if he'd even acted like he wanted to fight Santino, Santino would have fucking killed him. And in that 1-on-1 situation out in the hallway, to where the only thing out there was a guy filming on his cell phone, you saw Jimmy wanted absolutely nothing. Jimmy's never won a goddamn fight in his life. I don't know why he tries to act like this tough guy, why he acts like he's a badass. I have no fucking clue why you do that. I was a reasonable tough guy coming up through high school. Yeah, there's a lot of fucking guys in the WWE once I got to working with them. There's a lot of those motherfuckers that could beat my ass rather easily. There's a lot of them that couldn't. Jimmy has never seen the day he could whip anybody on a fucking WWE roster, from the worst manager to the worst wrestler, all the way to the top. He's never whipped anybody in his fucking life, and he always talks this shit like he's going to beat somebody's ass. Jimmy ain't going to beat nobody's fucking ass. That comes from a guy that's known him for 41 fucking years. And I loved Jimmy for 41 years. I loved him more than my own brother. I have a brother that, because of Donald Trump, we don't speak anymore. And Jimmy and I, fortunately, politically agreed with each other. But even that wouldn't have made me dislike Jimmy. Jimmy would have had his, because Jimmy says a lot of shit comes out of his mouth I totally disagree with, when he was ranting about Muslims and ranting about people coming into this country and this, that, and the other, and wanted high gas prices so he could make more money on his stocks. Fuck that. You know, fuck. People need $1.88 a gallon gas if they can get it. But he wanted gas to be $5 a gallon so he would make more money on his stock investments. That's a selfish motherfucking prick. That's what that is. And I told him to his face, I'm not telling you anything I didn't tell Jimmy. And but when you are always for the betterment of yourself and fuck everybody else, you're not anybody I give a fuck to be a friend with. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, I try to do better too, but I also try to help people along the way. I mean, if you need help and I can possibly give it to you in some fashion or form, and I know you're trying to help yourself, I'm the first to get in line to help you. And my son is right there with that. Be it male, female, be it white or black, be it Asian, Chinese, or Pekingese, it don't matter. If you're trying to help yourself and we can help you in the process, we will do so. And I don't care what country you're in. I've helped people in Turkey. I help people in the Philippines. I've helped people in Japan. Normally, nominal help is, I'm not sending thousands of dollars, but there's been many times I've sent a couple of 300 if it helps somebody out of a horrible situation and improves their life. Or if some good luck has fell my way, I'll pass it on. And that's just what being a good human being is to me. And yeah, I'm agnostic. No, I do not believe in God, but I believe in karma and I believe in helping people. And every time I've ever helped anybody, that help eventually makes its way to me. And I believe very big in karma. And my son has tried to explain to me that is a type of religion. So no, I don't believe that there's a man that's going to come down from the sky and save us all. I just don't believe that. But I do believe you reap what you sow. And if you fuck people, you get fucked. And if you help people, eventually you get help. Now, there's a lot of people out there fucking people that it takes them a while before their shit comes back on them. But eventually, it seems to always come back. And anytime I've ever been good to people, it always comes back to me. Every goddamn single time. So whatever that is, that's what I believe in.
And I got another question here from one of the fans.
We got any hot Asian girls that want to know if I'm single that would like to come to Louisville and be the queen to the king? Have we got any of those?
Probably. I don't see any of them in here yet, but if one of them comes across, I'll let you know.
You let me know.
I got a question here from Chris Doyle.
I'm old and ugly and no one else wants me. So if you do, nah, it's not true. I've been very fortunate for a fat, old, ugly guy.
Hey, you're the king.
The truth and the StarMaker. You tie those two things together. So what was the other question?
Got a question from Chris Doyle here, and he's asking me.
Chris Doyle, whoa, Chris Doyle, that low life Australian piece of shit, phony, goddamn Iraqian, Ireland. That's where he's from, not Iraq. I know him. He's a scumbag. I don't like him. He's bad. He's just a bad person. He's evil. I don't know if I ever sent him one of these or not. Let me show you something that Chris Doyle did for me. Chris Doyle's a pretty cool guy. I'm just fucking with him. Chris Doyle, that's funny you got him on here. He sent me these. See those?
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, these are the things that you put your drinks in. Put your canned sodas in there. And he sent me 8 of those not too long ago. And we use them here in the Bolin household for our ice cold drinks. And we'll be using those during WrestleMania. I've got people here from Germany, England, Brazil, Austria that will all be here to watch WrestleMania. It's going to be an international WrestleMania. And a couple of us Americans.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Chris Doyle's a pretty cool guy. I was just fucking with Chris. What's his question?
He's asking.
Chris Doyle, as a matter of fact, has probably as much Bolin Services merchandise and Bolin Club as anybody in America. And he lives in, if I remember correctly, I think Chris Doyle lives in Perth, Australia, in Western Australia, if I remember correctly. I've mailed enough shit to him. I should know.
His question is, who's your favorite Aussie fan?
My favorite Aussie fan, well, that would be, let's see, we got Mr. Quigley, Peter Quigley down there. We've got Paul Diamond. We've got Paul RJ, so we got 2 Pauls. We got Chris Doyle. We've got a few others whose names are escaping me. So let's see, Paul RJ, Chris Doyle, Paul Diamond, Peter Quigley. I got a lot of Australian fans, believe it or not. My favorite. Shit. If I had to rank them top to bottom, I would go Paul RJ number 1 because he's a fellow wrestler and he wears all my garb to all of his shows. Peter Quigley's a pretty cool guy and promotes me a lot down there, so he'd probably be number 2. Paul Diamond, I barely know, but he's a good guy. Paul Diamond buys a lot of merchandise too, so he'd be number 3. The 4 guys I can't think of would be 4, 5, and 6, so I'd probably put Chris Doyle number 7 as my top Australian fans. Even though he did send me those little coaster things. So he's a strong 7. He's definitely top 10. Oh, and I got some female fans down here too. Who's a couple of their names are escaping me. So my memory's not real good. I think I've got 4 loyal female fans and maybe 10 or 12 male fans that all write me from Australia quite often. So definitely Chris Doyle is top 15. because I can't put him over any of the women. Can't do that. And then I got some people in New Zealand that are very loyal too that I kind of lump in with Australia. I'll kind of lump them with them. So he's definitely top 20. Chris Doyle is a top 20 fan without a doubt. Even though he's the only one that ever sent me anything and didn't ask something for it. He should be higher. But for him to actually write into the show and try to pin me in to name him as the #1 fan, I think is low class. I think that's bullshit. How dare you write this man's show trying to get yourself over and bit yourself as the #1 fan? I won't give you that. So I'm going to put you in the top 20, Chris Doyle. And by the way, your red hoodie and your red, you didn't order a red hoodie, did you? You ordered a red shirt. Maybe did you order a red hoodie? Remind me what you ordered. You haven't paid for it yet, by the way, you fucking asshole. Goddamn bogus Aussie. You're from Ireland. Quit acting like you're goddamn Australian. Or is he an Australian acting like an Irish? I forget which one, but quit doing that. But your shit will be in the mail soon. As soon as you fucking pay for it. Goddamn fucking rating seeker trying to be #1. I won't give it to you. Not till you make your payment. After that, you'll make top 5. That's all right.
You heard from
I want you to pay double this time. Whatever I build you, double it. I need the money. I've been on the shelf for a while and I haven't made much money lately. So I need
Chris
the money.
Chris says he ordered both actually.
I think he did. I might only send him one. But he ain't paid yet, so I guess he ain't gonna get anything until he pays. Yeah. Even though he was nice enough to send me those little snuggie things there. That was very nice of him. But they're not as expensive as a fucking hoodie. As a matter of fact, he's got my other hoodie. He's got that. He's got the white Bowling Club shirt that I saw him wearing yesterday. And he's got the black Bowling Club shirt. I can't remember if he's got the hat or not. He might even have the hat. Can't remember. But yeah, just double that payment. I need the money. And I know you're rich. You're one of those rich Aussies. What he is. Once he pays me, Paul RJ will drop to #2.
Chris says this order is on you, StarMaker.
He don't know me very well, does he? God damn. Fucking con men. What are you gonna do with them?
And then I see Lisa.
I even got an order from Turkey today. I got a young lady from Turkey that wants to order a bunch of my shit. So I got to get her taken care of too. Yila's over in Turkey. Hello, Yila's. And thank you for your order. That was very kind of you.
I see Lisa in here. She's totally on board with you. She says, give respect.
Is Lisa Asian?
No, actually, she's not. She's from New York.
She's from where?
New York.
Hi, Lisa from New York. How you doing?
And she's.
I didn't think Lisa was an Asian girl, but a lot of times the Asian girls have American first names. Many of them. Lots of Jennies in the Philippines. Lots. I got like 4 friends in the Philippines, all named Jenny, spelled Jhennie. Unusual spelling. So what's Lisa's question?
She's just on board with you. Like when you were talking about, the whole thing about karma and everything, she says, give respect, gain respect. And she says,
absolutely. You get what you give. If you give respect, you get it. And I've always been one of these people that tries to respect my elders, and I try to respect anybody that gives any. If you shit on people, you're going to get shit right on back, and I'll be the first to shit on you. I do not care for people that, like nothing pisses me off more, and this happens a lot. Nothing pisses me off more than for a young fan, say I'm 58 years old. For a young fan, say 45 or under, to write me and go, "What's up, dude?" That just burns me the fuck up. Where did you earn the right to call me dude? I have a name. My name is Kenny Bolin. Call me Hey King, Hey Kenny, Hey StarMaker. Whatever my names were in wrestling, whatever my real name is, I'm not dude. I'm not Bubba. I'm not Bud. I have a name. Refer to me as such. And many of these people do this the first time they've ever responded. Hey, what did I say? Dude. What's up, dude? And that's where people do not have the respect for their elders that they used to. I never dreamed I'd ever be that way, that I'd give a shit. But at about age 40, I started giving a shit. I always swore I'd never be one of these guys that would say, "Well, you got to call me Mr. Bolin," or "Don't call me Mr. Bolin, call me Kenny." You know what Vince Russo calls me? He calls me Mr. Bolin. You know why? Because I'm about a year older than him. Vince is 57 and I'm 58. You know why Vince calls me Mr. Bolin? He says, "Well, I've always been taught to respect my elders." And Mr. Bolin has been in the business longer than me, and he's a little older than me. So my respect goes to Mr. Bolin. So he calls me Mr. M-I-S-T-A, Mr. Bolin. And I've always told him he can call me Kenny, but he rarely does. 90 times out of 100, he'll call me Mr. Bolin. I never call him Mr. Russo. I call him Vince because he's a year younger than me and I've been in the business longer than him. So,
and I see two more questions here, but
I love taking fans' questions. So go ahead.
I'll read a couple quick comments. Chris Doyle says he does have the hat.
Oh, he does have the hat. Well, I can't remember if you've ever sent me a picture wearing the hat or not. So if he has, great. I got it somewhere. And if not, send another one. And your red shit will come here no later than Tuesday. So when the red bowling club shit gets here, it'll be here Tuesday. So it'll probably ship one day next week.
And then Lisa says she says you're doing great, Kenny. She loves you. She's loving the show.
Great. How old is Lisa? Tell Lisa to give us her age. Well, tell Lisa to send me a friend request. Is she on Facebook? I guess she is. If she's not already a friend of mine, tell her to send me a friend request on Facebook, and we'll see if she's Asian or not.
You heard the StarMaker, Lisa. Send Mr. Bolin,
Lisa. And thank you for the comments, and I'm glad we agree on karma and all that. And but yeah, feel free to send me a friend request, and if I'm at 5,000, I'll delete somebody and make room for you. There's always some asshole that friend requests me and it never writes me. So on their birthday, I delete them. I check and see if they've ever written me, and if they haven't, they get deleted, and then I replace them from a pool of requests, and that's why I always keep my friends at $49.99. That way, you can request me. If I go to 5,000, it won't even let you request me. So I stay at $49.99 on every birthday that I think to look. I click messages, and if they've never written me, you got 1 year to write me. If it's been a year and you haven't written me, goodbye. You're gone. You're wasting my time. You're wasting true fans' spot to actually be on my friends list. So you're gone. You get back in the cycle again, work your way back through, and then I accept somebody new. And I guarantee you, I get rid of 500 people a year. Every year, I delete 500 people, at least. 1 year, I deleted 1,100 and replaced them from the pool. So I always have right about $49.99, give or take by a few, and I replace them with new fans if they've never written me. So if you want to stay on my friends list, you got to write me, because if you've never written me, you've never ordered anything. So, and not everybody orders something, and it's not necessary. If you want something, buy it. I sell the Monster Intune headphones. Got to get my plugs in. These are the Monster Intune Bowling Club headphones. They list for $199 even at fucking Walmart. And my distributor gets me a great price on these Monster Intunes, and I sell them for $79.95, even though they list anywhere from $149 to $199, pending where you shop. Monster used to make Beats headphones. And I discovered these about 6 years ago when we were shopping for Beats. And we put these on and going, God damn, these sound better than the Beats. So 6 years ago, my sponsor paid $199 for 3 sets of these. So $600 on 3 sets of Monster Intunes. Well, since that time, my distributor, Shinsuke Nakamura, he gets me great deals on these. But these aren't the knockoffs. These are the real deal. Now, the Beats version, and I just hit a button here I shouldn't have hit. There we go. The Beats I sell, those are knockoffs, because they would sell, the wireless Beats would sell for like $250, and I sell those for $59.95 each, but they still sound great. Now, these are the ones that Maya uses. These are the lavender Monster Intunes. We don't have a logo on those because I don't know a lot of teams that use lavender. But those are the lavender Monster Intunes. Those are hard to get. Excuse me. These are the blue ones. I've got some green ones over here. I also have yellow, red, and white, and one pair of silver that are very difficult to get. So if you want any of the Monster Intune headphones, $79.95. If you want any of my Bolin Club microphones, they are $59.95. And my book, oh shit, let me see if I can reach the goddamn thing. Probably not. Oh, Lord. My book, I Probably Screwed You Too, The Mostly True Stories of Kenny StarMaker Bolin. And those are $19.95. My t-shirts are $25.95. The have the Bolin Club. My microphone's blocking it up. Have the Bolin Club logo, great big logo on the back, BS logo on the sleeves. Those are made for me by Collar and Elbow. I am the #1 merchandise mover of Collar and Elbow, have been since the day I joined them. And my lead grows bigger. Guess I'd put these back on. My lead grows bigger each week that goes by, from what Collar and Elbow tells me. And man, I must be coming down with a little bit of a cold or something. I got a little cough and a little sniffle going. So I better find me some goddamn cold medicine around here somewhere. So, and what else? The Bolin Club ice cream hat. You turn these upside down, you eat ice cream out of them at the ballpark. BS logo on the top. And I sell these autographed for $10, just a little bonus throw-in item. I don't send too many of them out by themselves, but if you buy enough merchandise, hell, sometimes I even throw them in for free. And my DVDs, of course, another Jim Cornette DVD right there. We did a couple of videos together to where we just take Q&A. Another picture of us there. So I've got Jim Cornette 1 and 2. It's called A Buffet with Bolin, or My Breakfast with Bolin. I forget what the fuck we called them. And so I sell those 2 DVDs. I also have a 6-hour DVD, The Best of StarMaker Bolin, from where I managed and had angles with Jerry Lawler, John Cena, of course, Bobby Heenan, a bit with Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's a 6-hour DVD just loaded with everybody that we developed at OVW. And my DVDs are $19.95. They're either 4 hours or 6 hours long. And then, of course, the Bolin Cornette DVDs are 2 hours long. I've got a Best of Cena DVD, the Best of Bolin and Cena, and I have 2 of those. It's a two-part DVD. And I'm getting tired. I'm fading away. So any last questions? And did Lisa send me her phone number?
Let's see. Let me check the chat here.
She didn't post her number on Facebook, did she?
Let's see. She didn't put anything else up yet, so I don't know. Maybe she'll send you that friend request.
Maybe she'll send me the friend request. I'll look for the name Lisa, and or maybe she's married and her husband will get pissed if she sends me a friend request. I don't know. But, I have all kinds of fans, married and single. It don't matter. I'm 58 years old. I'm not too much of a threat to any of the wives out there. So, but I did have a fan recently that ordered a shirt and a hoodie from me, and she wanted to know if she could come to Golden Corral and pick them up from me, and her husband got pissed at her and canceled the order. So much for her coming to Golden Corral and picking up her hoodie and her shirt. She ordered the hoodie and the shirt, and she lived in Lexington, and she said, could I meet you at Golden Corral and pick it up? I said, yeah. I said, I'll even treat you to dinner if you come down. And I said, I'll cover your dinner for you driving down to pick them up. And she says, I am married. I said, well, good. Bring your husband. I said, I'm not looking for a damn date. I said, bring your husband. I'll cover his meal too. Well, he got pissed. He was not happy that I invited her to dinner to get the hoodie and the shirt. And I think he was pissed that she ordered it, and he canceled her order, and they did not come to pick up their hoodie and their shirt. So I got an extra hoodie and an extra shirt here if anybody needs it. She's kind of cute too. She wasn't a bad looking girl.
I see a couple more questions here from people.
I'll answer questions as long as they're coming up.
All right, because we're getting a little bit of action here going on.
Now that people realize I'm not going to rant about Donald Trump all night, they might ask a question.
Let's see. Where's the questions at? I think they're back here. Okay, because a lot of people have been pretty much talking. From Kieran McDonald.
I know that name. That's Kieran McDonald. I think he's out in California, if I remember correctly. He's a fan of mine. I'm getting you a lot of views here tonight, son. I bet you Lisa might be a fan of mine too. But yeah, Kieran's an old buddy of mine. What's Kieran got? What's his question?
He actually has 3 of them here that I see.
Jesus Christ, he's just trying to hog the whole show. All right, Kieran, what do you got?
He wants to know if you're gonna watch WrestleMania, and he wants to know.
I said earlier on the show that I've got guests here from Austria, Germany, Brazil, and London, and they're all coming over to watch WrestleMania from me. They normally go to WrestleMania, all these people, but they canceled their WrestleMania trip and wanted to come here and watch it with me and my son. So that's what we're doing. So we're going to have it here. We'll be watching it on the 70-inch 4K Bolintron there in the background, and not the Geratron 5000, but the Bolatron 70,000. And we'll be watching WrestleMania on that. That's mounted above my fireplace there. And one of these guys is a big promoter of UFC events, and he works in America quite a bit. His name is Oliver Kopp, and he's here from Germany to watch WrestleMania with us. And he normally goes every year. And we've also got Harry Barnett from London. He's a former co-host on my show. He's going to be here. And then we got Austria. We got a lot of countries represented here. Brazil, Germany, Austria, London, England, and hell, I'm probably leaving somebody out. But Canada, we got a Canadian going to be here.
I normally
no Mexicans. It's not that they're not invited. Any pretty little Spanish, little Mexican girl wants to come over and watch the show, she's welcome. Anybody from Japan or the Philippines or Hong Kong or Indonesia, any of those girls want to come over and watch the show, they're welcome. Turkey, the girl in Turkey, if she wants to come on over. We'll just have a big international show here. Room for everybody. I've also got an 80-inch TV in the bedroom that's 3D, and I got this huge bedroom that's even bigger than my living room, and we got an 80-inch TV back there. It's not 4K, it's an 80-inch 3D, and it hangs above the fireplace in the bedroom, and we'll probably have people in there watching the show as well.
Sounds like
I'm fucking getting sick. I don't believe it.
I usually go here to WrestleMania myself too, and I've been to the past 7 in a row now, and then this year,
Wow.
My friend ended up getting injured.
You know what I call those people?
What?
More money than they got sense.
Yeah, I've been going for
look at all the money you're going to save this year. You can watch it for $9 at home.
Yeah, well, my one friend that I always go with, he ended up getting injured.
And you won't be buying any merch and your travel expenses. Look at all the money you save. You should send me that money. You should buy a microphone. You should buy some Monster Intune headphones with all the Mania money you saved. You should be getting you a good microphone and a good set of headphones and maybe one of the Bolin cup holders there. Send you a free Bolin cup holder. Maybe even a free shirt. Maybe a hat. You'd look good in a bowling club hat.
Oh, I believe I would.
Well, we'll see. We won't know till you actually wear
it. That's right. Kieran McDonald.
Oh, so Kieran had 3 questions. Yeah, I'm watching Mania.
Yeah, he's actually asking, do you still eat at Kingfish?
Absolutely. We're going there tomorrow. We ate at Yankee Noodle tonight. We're eating at Kingfish tomorrow. Sunday, we're going to have a pre-dinner at Carrabba's, which is a great Italian restaurant here that my German friends treat me to for my belated birthday gift. And we're going to eat at Mark's Feed Store, which is about a mile from my door. Very popular comfort food place. They have a thing called burgoo that is just off the fucking charts. It's kind of like a very rich, meaty beef stew, but it's called burgoo. God damn, there's nothing like it. They got some of the best cornbread in the world, some great burgers. They're a barbecue place, actually. And it's a very, very down-to-earth country barbecue place that specializes in burgers, burgoo, and barbecue. And they have the brisket, the barbecue, and some of the best probably in the country. It is very good. As a matter of fact, it's Jim Cornette's favorite barbecue place. He loves it.
And Kieran McDonald's also asking, what do you think of Jeff Jarrett? Good old Double J Jeff Jarrett going into the WWE Hall of Fame.
Jeff's a friend of mine. I've known him for years. Me and Jeff's dad are even better friends, Jerry Jarrett. Jerry's been a dear friend of mine for a long time. And I'm happy for Jeff. I hope Jerry got to go to see his son get inducted. I don't know if he is or isn't. I probably should try to call Jerry Jarrett and find out. That's something in my eye, guys, so bear with me. God knows. I'm just falling apart here in front of everybody. But no, Jeff Jarrett's been a decent friend of mine for a lot of years. We've known of each other. I won't say we're dear friends, but we know of each other and know each other's accomplishments. But me and his dad are truly dear friends. His dad loves me and I love him. And as a matter of fact, Jerry Jarrett told me, and he even told Cornette that I was a much better manager than Jimmy ever hoped to be. Jerry Jarrett actually said that. He said that Kenny Bolin is the essence of professional wrestling. And he said, the reason I say that, he says, I have trained the best in this business. I've been involved in the workings with Jerry Lawler's, the Jackie Fargos. Not that he trained all them, but he worked with them. And he said, I can tell when any of those guys are working or shooting. He says, I know immediately. He says, with Kenny Bolin and Jimmy Cornette, still to this day, I have no idea if they're working me or if they're shooting. And he said, that is an unbelievable talent that if you can fool me. And I took that as one of the greatest compliments I've ever had. And that came from Jerry Jarrett. And I don't respect anybody in the business more than I respect Jerry Jarrett.
And I'm looking here. We have Mr. Let's see, where's he?
And it's weird. I've got 5,000 fans on Facebook, and it's seemingly I know every fucking one of them by name. So if you name them and they're on my 5,000 list, chances are I probably know that they're my fan.
Greg Manuel is in here.
Yeah, Greg Manuel lives in Indiana. Big fan of mine. I just bought me a new car. I should have got it from him, but I didn't because I had a fan in Corbin, Kentucky, sell me a beautiful gold Cadillac at an unbelievable price. And as a matter of fact, I sent Greg Manuel the picture. So how you doing, Greg? So far, none of your fans are asking me shit unless Lisa's a fan of yours. I don't know if Lisa's my fan or not. Does Lisa have a last name?
Actually, it's just coming up as Lisa in here, and Lisa's one of my fans. Actually, interesting.
Okay, all right. Well, on a 1 to 10, what does Lisa look like? You can't answer that. You're buried if you answer. You can't answer.
Well, I'll tell you,
Lisa's a 2. Well, see, she won't be your fan anymore.
Lisa doesn't have a profile picture up on her YouTube thing.
That's concerning. That's concerning. Because even my ugly ass profile picture.
But she does say that
a lot of the YouTubers do not have a profile picture. I do because I think I'm pretty. I think I'm a pretty.
I'll say one thing.
I'm one of the cutest 58-year-old men in the country with probably some of the nicest hair that any 58-year-old man ever had. How old are you? I know you're not no 58.
I'm 30.
30? Yeah, you're the same age as my son. I bet you my hair rivals yours. And I'm 50. I'm twice your age. I'll be 60 in less than 2 years.
And you know what? You look great.
It's all I got. It's nice hair. That's all I have.
But I will tell you one thing that makes me believe that.
What was Greg Manuel's question?
He was saying right down here. He said King loves Vanessa Del Rio. She still has
the King loved Vanessa Del Rio. My first Spanish love. As a matter of fact, here's a little story for you. Vanessa Del Rio was one of the most famous and most popular porn stars in the 70s that ever lived. She was the #1 porno star, without a doubt, when I got my first VCR in 1979. When I got web TV in the mid-1990s, the first person I ever wrote on web TV, the first internet letter I ever sent, I sent to Vanessa Del Rio. Within an hour, she wrote me back and she said, Kenny, thank you so much for the letter. You're so sweet. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be in Louisville. And she gave me the date. Like 2 weeks later, she was going to be in Louisville doing a personal appearance at one of the strip clubs here. And I got to go down and meet Vanessa Del Rio in person in the 90s. And I'd been watching her since the 70s. She is a very gorgeous Latino porn star. And there was nobody like her in the day. Her body was just absolutely perfect. A beautiful face. You know what? She's well into her 60s now, and she's still not a bad looking lady. And I think she's like 66, maybe. I could be wrong on that. Somebody might Google me and prove me wrong. But I know she's in her 60s, and she's still a nice looking lady. But she was the first person I ever wrote a letter to on the internet.
I'm going to tell you a couple things here. I'll tell you what makes me believe that Lisa's got to be a 10.
Okay, well, what makes you believe that?
I got a reasoning for it because when I do my shows talking about the WWE, Raw, SmackDown, whatever.
Right.
I'm a huge mark for Stephanie McMahon.
I'm not. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I met Stephanie before she got in the business, and I loved her back then. But ever since she got on television, man, she's just hard to fucking deal with. I'm not a fan of Stephanie at all. And she's nowhere near as pretty as she used to be. Like Triple H is trying to turn her into China, all this bodybuilding shit and everything. And I just don't like that on a woman. I do not like a woman who is sculptured like a body. And I don't even really like it on men, to be honest with you. I like a man to look like a normal man. I mean, if bodybuilding your thing and that's what you want to do, cool. Obviously, it wasn't my gig. So, but I just don't like the look. I just think it's creepy looking that somebody wants to look like that, male or female, especially female. I hope that don't make me some woman hater or not. I just don't like women that look like men. We'll just put it that way. So.
I always mention all the time, how pretty she is, how good
Lisa,
she is.
If you look like Stephanie McMahon and you work out 8 hours a day, you're probably not my cup of tea. But I do not work out 8 hours a day. I probably eat 8 hours a day, and I might not be your cup of tea either. So,
well, Lisa says here, she says, I can't stand Stephanie. I'm
we're
pretty
good.
and
Two of
blow
us.
in the water.
What's that? What was that last name?
She says, I'm pretty and I'll blow her out of the water.
You probably do. If you don't look like Stephanie, you're a leg up with me already. Now, if I can just get her to fall in love with a 58-year-old fat man, I got it going for me.
You might have a connection here.
Hey, we both hate Stephanie, and I've met her many times. She can be all right, but goddamn, she was so sweet and so pretty in her younger days, and it's, I swear to God, it's like Triple H is trying to create another China. And I'll be honest with you, I knew China. She was always very nice to me, but that was a look that I was not into. And just looked like, I'm sorry, she looked like a man. And I don't like my women to look like men. If I like that look, I date men. I like women. No offense to you out there, men that like to date men. If that's your cup of tea, go for it. It don't bother me none. But it's not for me. I like my women to look like women. So, Lisa, how you doing, baby? She's going, that fat creep better leave me alone. I'm going to report him to the law.
She said, Lisa says she's like, I never want to be compared to Stephanie because I'm way above her.
Well, I don't doubt that a bit. Now, has she sent me Lisa, have you sent me a friend request yet on Facebook? Or Twitter?
Yeah, Lisa, you could send Kenny a friend request on Facebook, or follow him on Twitter.
Yeah, even on Facebook, it is /StarMaker Bolin, and on Twitter, I'm at StarMaker Bolin. And you can follow me on Facebook or send me a friend request. I'm sorry, you can follow me on Facebook too. You can also send me a friend request. I got room for 5,000. I promise you I'll make room for you. And on Twitter, then you just follow me on Twitter and I'll see you and I'll even write you. So there we go. And I'm looking at the men are going, why don't we get this attention? Why is pretty Lisa getting all the attention?
I got my regular fan in here, Rocky. He's like, oh no, there he goes on Steph again.
No, I got no use for Stephanie.
And then Greg Monroe says,
Triple H can have her. I will not be a threat for Stephanie McMahon.
"Hey, if Triple H ever decides to divorce her, maybe I gotta get myself a job in WWE. Steph, call me."
No, he will not be divorcing Stephanie. It'd be the other way around. Triple H knows he's got it fucking made. He ain't going nowhere.
That's true. That's true.
Why do you think he got rid of China? He knew he had the gravy train the minute he started dating Stephanie. He's not a total fool.
He wanted to jump on board that gravy train. That's for
shit,
sure.
yeah. I mean, that was that. I promise you, that was his sole interest. He went from China to Stephanie. Come on. And and China had to find out the hard way. China was really destroyed by this because he was cheating with Stephanie, and China didn't know it. And China really got mentally fucked by this. She was tore up by this.
She never.
But enough about that. Let's go back to questions.
Back on the.
Hang on. Give me a second. Hi, Lisa.
Greg Manuel, he typed up something here. He says he's doing great. He says, need to talk soon. Have been extremely busy. He says, Kenny is definitely one of the best guys I've ever met, involved with the wrestling business or in general.
I agree with that. I think I am one of the best people ever in the wrestling business. I'm just a class act. I'm dignified, personified, petrified. And now Greg's a great guy. He's one of the better fans and friends I have out there. I don't necessarily call all my fans friends, but a lot of them are. And Greg Manuel is definitely one of those. He's been a real good guy, and I always love hearing from Greg. But is Lisa my friend?
I think Lisa's your friend. I really think she is.
I hope none of my other 9 girlfriends are watching tonight, or I'm going to be a deep shit because those 9 are going to be real pissed at Lisa. 7 of those are Asian, by the
way. Chris Doyle came back in here with a question.
Yeah, what's that bum want?
Did Chris and Maya ever get their Chinese food?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, well, they took me. I guess they're trying to tell me how sorry they are. They took me. We promoted this earlier to Yankee Noodle. That's the Chinese place they went to the other night. They took me there tonight, and holy shit, I'm not a big Chinese food guy. This is more Asian stir fry than it is more than a Chinese restaurant. This is Asian stir fry, and goddamn, it's good. It's very affordable. I told Chris and Maya tonight we're going to be there at least once every 2 weeks for the rest of our lives. And they have 3 beautiful Asian girls behind the counter and 1 black girl who's about 6 feet tall. This is one of the prettiest damn people I've ever seen in my life. I mean, just beautiful people that work there. It's like I hired them. These are the people that would have walked through the door, and I wouldn't have gave a shit how good they were. I would have hired them because they look good behind the counter. And so there's 1, 2, 3 Asian girls and a black girl that was about 6 feet tall with hair down to her ass. And she was just a goddess of a woman. Looked like she might have been 21, 22. And everybody had a great personality. They came to the tables to check on us to make sure that we were good with our food. They heard some of the people that come in, told them that I was famous and hey, you got Kenny Bolin eating in here. How long's Kenny been here? And they said, well, we went over and talked to him, and he said it's his first time ever eating here. So we actually had some fans come in while we were there, and it was a really fun experience. I talked to some of the fans that come over to the table to meet me, and just about everybody that worked there come over and said hello to us. And I told, hey man, we love the place. We're going to be back. Don't worry about that. And Chris and Maya have been eating there for quite a while. They've been eating there for about 4 years, but I technically don't like Chinese food per se. And they brought some back home one night, and I tried some of it. I said, God damn, that's good. Where'd y'all get that at? Oh, they said, you said you don't like Asian food. I said, well, I like this. And they said, where'd you get it at? And they said, Yankee Noodle. So I thought it was Yankee Noodle, but it's Yankee Noodle. You all saw the spelling. And so I finally got my Asian food, and I loved it. And hell, I'll be going once every 2 weeks. I got a big, some type of a chicken stir-fried dinner. I forgot what it was called. Pot stickers and my drink for under $10. I mean, it was real good. Plenty of food. Trust me, plenty of food. As a matter of fact, if you get the lunch size portion, it's $6.99, including your drink. If you get the dinner size portion, it's $9.99. So there you go. Enough plugging for Yankee Noodle. They ain't giving me a penny yet. So, they're going to. They're going to.
I'm looking in here, and your girl Lisa put in 3 more comments.
Yeah, well, what did Lisa have to say? I mean, what did my 10th girlfriend have to say?
She says,
I hope I didn't steal her from you. I didn't steal her from you, did I?
No, she'll still be here. She was my first subscriber, actually. The very
I
first.
thought you were going to tell me she was your first girlfriend. I was going to feel terrible about that.
No, don't worry about that.
Really? That's pretty cool. She was your number 1 subscriber, huh?
Yeah, when I first started.
Lisa, make sure to subscribe to the Bolin Alley. If you can't find the link to it on YouTube, I will post it later on my wall on Facebook and or Twitter. And but it's the Bolin Alley, and we've only done 1 show on the Bolin Alley because I've always done other people's networks. I've never had my own network before, so now we're just going to go ahead and do my own. And so we just started like a couple of weeks ago. And I think we've got like 400 and something subscribers or whatever, which we hope to build those numbers huge, because on Facebook Live, I normally get roughly between 3,500 and 5,000 views either that day or by the end of the week. And now the last show only lasted 15 minutes. We had a bit of a run-in with my kids, and they walked off the show, which pissed me off. So I ended the show 15 minutes into it. But I still think even that piece of shit show got like 2,600 views in just a couple of days. But normally we average about 5,000 views on Facebook, and we're hoping to get YouTube built to that eventually. But Facebook is so easy for most people that they get an alert when I go on, and they just click their phones and watch me. And YouTube is harder for them to do. They got to go through more trouble to watch me on YouTube. But and when I'm on iTunes and all those shows, we got some shows that get as much as 150,000 downloads. That's what most of my fans like to do, is to hear the shows on iTunes and Stitcher and a couple of others. The video shows are more trouble for them to watch and to listen to, but I enjoy doing them. So whatever. As long as they're entertained, I don't really care how many it is. As long as it's over 1,000. 5,000 are good, because that's like I'm performing in front of the Louisville Gardens. 5,000 fans.
Yeah.
6,600 to be exact. So Lisa had 3 more questions.
She actually had 3 comments that she put in here.
Well, let's hear her comments.
She says,
it does look like I'm playing Lisa as a favorite, don't it? I'm just fucking over everybody else and just giving all my attention and love to Lisa. I'm really alienating all the other fans.
She says, I hope to see many viewers. As you said, you brought Kenny. It would be awesome. And we know they're coming. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
She says, I'm also opinionated as I feel. This is the way to be.
I agree with her. That's kind of how I am. So I think me and Lisa would get along. I think we're similar personalities from what I'm gathering, but go ahead.
And she says, with the politics aside, you are a nice man. And she says, I love straightforward people.
I think Lisa just told me she's a Trump supporter.
She might have, in a roundabout way.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. I feel sorry for those people, but that's okay. No, I don't hate Trump supporters. Like I always said, I feel sorry for them. But especially if you're a woman. Anybody that says that he can walk up and grope a woman's pussy without permission, I got a bit of a problem with. But I'm a Southern gentleman. And if he had ever spoke that way to my mother or my sister or my aunts or my cousins, I would have beat the dog fuck out of him, because you only get to say that once to any of my female relatives. And at that point, I mean, I've disliked him for a long time. I've met him backstage at a couple of the WWE events when I was with him, and he was a prick and a womanizer then, and I did not like him then. And then when he ran for president, I hated him even worse, because he just says and does a lot of shit that I don't stand for and don't believe in. And when he said that shit about I can just walk up and grope a woman's pussy and there's nothing they do about it, that fucking bothered me. And then when 20 women come out and say that he's violated them in one form or another, I'm sorry. I'm a Southern gentleman, and I don't go for that shit. So that is all the other shit aside, that alone is enough for me to fucking despise him. So if you support him, I don't understand why, but that is your choice.
And Rocky says he's like, love is in the air. I guess between
Well, maybe if she can get over me hating Trump, maybe there's some love in the air. I don't know. And if she don't mind a fat 58-year-old man who's been retired from the wrestling business since 2012. But I'm very proud of my record because so many of my guys are still active in the WWE. Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, Dolph Ziggler, Mark Henry, who's my first star that I've managed, is going into the Hall of Fame himself. So I'm very proud of Mark. Mark was one of my first biggest stars that I managed. John Cena, obviously going to be a Hall of Famer. Randy Orton's going to be a Hall of Famer. I'd like to see Rico get in, but they probably won't put him in. Just due to politics and backstage bullshit that went on in the WWE. Mike Mondo, I managed there, who was a hell of a good guy. Batista, I managed against and helped elevate his career because if he hadn't feuded with Bolin Services as long as he did, I don't think he would have gotten to the WWE because he was another one that was difficult to get along with. He was always sick. He was always coming up with excuses and as to why he knew so little, and he was not very well liked in the WWE when he got there. And but he did good enough that he got a few years out of it, and he's going on making some movies. Nothing. I don't think he's ever going to be a lead in any movies, but and of course the Miz I managed for a while. And goddamn boy, he was another one that was hard to get along with when he was here. But he was doing an autograph session at a WrestleMania a couple of years ago, and several of the fans were wearing Bolin Services shirts with this logo, if you can see it, the logo on the sleeve. And several fans came up to his table wearing my T-shirt, and he looked at them. He says, "Are you all Bolin fans?" And they said, "Yeah." And they said, "Why aren't you wearing the Miz shirts?" They said, "Well, because we're Bolin fans." And he did not take a liking to him. He was pissed that they were wearing my shit at WrestleMania instead of his or a WWE stars. But he knew I didn't like him when he was here. I made no voices about that. And I even called to congratulate him when he got to the WWE. And I remember the first real good promo he did. He had a lot of heat with the WWE. Undertaker despised him. Kane despised him. No one up there fucking liked him. But his first real good promo he did, it was one of those that started in the back and he promoted all the way out to the ring. And I was blown away by how good it was. And I called him. I took the time to call him on his cell phone and congratulate him on that interview. And he never called back or acknowledged that I had congratulated him for a great interview, which he was not known for when he was here. And I said, okay, there's a self-serving prick that thinks he's a fucking big deal and that he's just too big. He forgot where he came from. Doesn't realize that if it weren't for OVW, his ass would have probably never made it. He was just a reality star from MTV. No one here gave a fuck. No one here watched that show. And because I thought he was going to be a help to our TV show, and our fans could give less than a fuck that he was on reality TV. They didn't even know who he was. And we also had Jesse Goddard's here, who went on to TNA, and he was on like Big Brother or something. And nobody here really knew that show. He didn't do much to help us either. He was a nice guy. I liked him. But these reality show guys, the OVW fans, didn't really even fucking know who they were. So, but those were the two main reality guys that we had here. And other than the Tough Enough winners, because we had all those as well. And some of them were pricks. we'll just say that. Miz was one of them. So any other final questions? Has Lisa proposed marriage or anything like that? Where are we at?
Well, Lisa says she's got two comments here, so let me read them both.
All right, what's Lisa's comments?
First one, she says that she agrees with you. No lady should ever be groped.
Well, of course not. No.
And she says, Kenny, this is her trying to plug my show. I see here. She says, Kenny, you say you'd like to help. Let's get 3 more subscribers to get to 400.
Well, she's helping you or helping me?
I think she's trying to help me because I'm 3 away from 400.
3 away from. Well, let's get him 3 more. Let's my fans give him a subscribe. Let's help the man out. I know 3 of my fans are out there watching. because you've all written questions. So Kieran McDonald, Greg Manuel, and Chris Doyle, and Paul RJ, and any of you other Australians that are watching tonight, give the man a subscribe and let's get him to 400, because hell, I'm barely over that myself right now.
And Blake McChristy says hello.
Hi, Blake. How you doing? He's no Lisa, but I'll say hi to him.
And I got to tell you, StarMaker, I appreciate your time. You know, we did an hour of a show.
We did a lot longer show than I planned on doing, but I had a good time. And when I wrap up here, I'm going to sit in my big new recliner that Two Cow's in right now. Would the fans like to meet Two Cow? Two Cow, you want to come up? Well, Two Cow's sound asleep. I'm not going to wake him up. He's sleeping. Hang on here. Hang on. I got an idea. Where is he? See him in that chair?
There he is.
There's Two Cow. Hi, Two Cow. Hi, little baby. His eyes are kind of open, but he's kind of been in Napville. But he's in my chair sleeping, and he's my little baby. He's a little baby dog.
And I have one last question for you, Mr. StarMaker, if I may.
No, you've occupied way too much of my time. I think you're interfering me and Lisa. I think me and Lisa would probably be dating by now if it weren't for you. I think you're cock blocking me, to be honest with you. And I don't even know what Lisa looks like yet, but I think Lisa thinks she's a 10, and that's good enough for me. Because God, look at this face. If this face ain't an 8.8, I don't know what is.
I would say it's
9.2.
Well,
what's your last question? Go ahead.
How does it feel for you, after everything you've done in the wrestling business and the huge name you've made for yourself in the business and all these guys that you have worked with?
I'm very proud of what I've done to have basically no worldwide promotion other than DVD and all the podcasts I've done. And as a matter of fact, I am the longest running podcast in America of any type. No one's had a podcast running longer than me. And then they say the longest wrestling podcast. I don't know of any podcast that's been running 14 years. I mean, there might be, but if there are, I don't know who it is. And I've been podcasting for 14 years, primarily about wrestling. But over the years, it faded down to where I'd talk a little bit about wrestling and then mainly talk about religion, politics, current events, anything that pisses people off, because controversy makes money. And so, yeah, I do alienate, but all those people I piss off and alienate, every fucking one of them watch. They might tell you they're not, but they do, because all those that tell me, well, I'll never watch your fucking show again. I don't like what you said about Donald Trump. Well, guess what? The next week, they're telling me the same shit. They're tuning in. So that's fine. I don't care if they like me or dislike me as long as they watch.
How does it feel to see all the guys that you have worked with and helped build up through the
very proud of it, because every single person that I managed or developed was basically unknown and untapped. The closest one that I managed that had any experience at all was Mark Henry, but he knew nothing, and he was sent here for me to train and to teach him how to be a bad guy. Same with Bull Buchanan. Same with Sylvester Turkey. Same with John Cena. Same with and even the guys that feuded against us. They knew the way to get noticed on television was either be with Bolin Services or be against Bolin Services, because either way you were being televised, either way you were in the main event, and either way you were focused on OVW television. And we could care less about titles and all that bullshit. We never cared. We lost more title matches than fucking anybody. Main reason, we didn't need them. We knew that we were going to be main event with or without titles. And yes, Cena had the titles a bit. Rico had them. We had the tag titles, all that. But Jimmy can tell you every title they ever won or lost. I can't tell you any. You know why? Because it was fucking phony business. It's a fucking made up bullshit, and I didn't care. Why do I know my record at Oldham County High? I was 212-0, and every one of those fucking matches was real. So those I worried about. I kept those records. For television, I didn't care because it wasn't real. Jimmy tracked those records like they were, like God had handed them down in the 10 Commandments. And the reason he did is because Jimmy was not an athlete. Jimmy never had an athletic bone in his body. Jimmy never ever had a real wrestling match. He never played in a real baseball game. He never played in a real football game. He didn't play any basketball or tennis, or I think he dabbled in archery a little bit. And so the phony business was a big deal to Jimmy because that was the closest thing to reality that he could link himself with. So he can't brag about being 212-0 at Walden Elementary School for wrestling or anything because he did not do that. He was not an athlete. He very clumsy, very disoriented, very but he did do well in wrestling as far as memorizing people's shit, memorizing stuff he'd seen elsewhere, and reciting promos. He was a master at it. I could never do it the way he did. He can't do mine the way I do because I make my shit up as I go. And if you ask me to recite something, I'm fucked. I used to be a real good reciter when I was in school, but the older I got, the harder that was for me because I like speaking from the heart and what I really feel. And that's why my promos were so believable, is because if I believe it, everyone else is going to. Why wouldn't they? Well, goddamn, he said that like he fucking believed it. Well, you know who I learned that from? Jerry Lawler. Jerry Lawler never once cut a promo that I didn't believe every word he said. And I knew it was a phony business, and I still believed him. Well, if he says he's going to set that guy's goddamn house on fire and torch his car and kill his dog and his wife, you better get that dog and wife out of town because he's probably going to do it.
Yep.
So, anything else from Lisa? Is Lisa asked me anything else?
I don't see any more questions from Lisa, but I see
Lisa has left me. Lisa has dumped me. I know she has.
Blake McChristy says your podcasts are great and you make him laugh and also piss him off sometime. You're the best in wrestling.
Well, that's exactly my goal, is to make you piss you off and make you come back and get another dose of it. So
and he says he's doing good, but he's certainly no Lisa.
Yeah, he's probably not. He's probably no Lisa for damn sure. If she doesn't friend me, I'm going to be heartbroken. She better friend me or I'm just going to be destroyed. And my other 9 girlfriends ain't going to be happy about it either.
I hope she
I've been looking for a 10th girlfriend that's not Asian. So we'll just have to see how it goes. Or Turkish or Filipino, well, which covers the Asians. So I'm a big deal. And you know why the girls love me in the Philippines so much? Number one, I was on television over there for 2 straight years. They always played a John Cena, Kenny Bolin match on all the SmackDown shows over there that are on the Fox network in the Philippines. And I had no idea this was the case, but one of my dearest, sweet little girlfriends over there, her name's Lena. And I used to chat with Lena all the time, still do from time to time. And even would talk to her on the phone. She can call me free from the Philippines. I don't know why, but she can. So she calls me, and she calls me Daddy Bear. And she said, "Hi, Daddy Bear. How you doing?" I said, "Doing good. How are you?" "Watching you on TV, Daddy Bear." I said, "You are?" I said, Who's watching me on TV?" "Me and Grandma." I said, "Yeah, how are you doing that?" I said, "I've never sent you any DVDs." Because she got my headphones and T-shirts, and man, she got all kinds of my shit. I said, "Honey, I've never sent you any DVDs. How are you watching me on TV?" "You're on SmackDown." I said, "No, I'm not." I said, "I'm not on SmackDown." I said, "Who are you seeing that you think's me?" "Daddy Bear, you're standing in the ring. You got your briefcase that says StarMaker Bolin, and you're standing by a guy with long black curly hair and John Cena, and you're talking about beating somebody's ass. Daddy Bear's so funny. Grandma love you." I said, "What?" I said, "How you watch?" I said, "SmackDown." "Yeah, we watch you on SmackDown every week, Daddy Bear. And if I miss you, my uncle calls me and says, Lena, your boyfriend's on television." And she would turn on the TV and watch me on SmackDown. So it turns out I was on every week in the Philippines for 2 years. And I had no idea. As a matter of fact, I think that run just ended a few months ago. So lots of girls and guys in the Philippines have seen me on the TV show over there. And then once they figured out how to contact me, I hear from girls all the time that want to hear stories about John Cena, and a lot of the Asian girls in the Philippines love big American men. So I'm always getting propositions from Asian girls that want to come to the United States, but it's very difficult for Asian girls in the Philippines to come here. Japan is not so much trouble. China is not really all that much trouble. But if you're in the Philippines, here's the rules to come to America. You either have to own a home, you have to own a car, or have $4,000 in your bank account when you leave. And if you don't have at least one of those things, they don't let you come here. You have to have a reason to go back to the Philippines. And they figure if you leave your car there, have your home there, or have $4,000 in the bank, which not many people in Philippines has. You know what the average salary in the Philippines is? $315 a month. Between $315 and $350. That is the average Filipino salary. I've got a girl who's 25 years old. Her name is Jenny. I told you I knew lots of girls over there named Jenny. Jenny just graduated college, 4-year degree. She's 25 years old. And she just got a job at 7-Eleven. And her job at 7-Eleven pays 296 pesos a day. Ladies and gentlemen, that is under $6 a day. Now, things are very cheap over there. You can rent a nice apartment for $65 a month. So the cost of living over there is cheap, but some things are just expensive there as they are here. Ice cream over there is pretty expensive. Denim jeans are just off the charts. Nike shoes cost just as much over there as they do here. And but other things are very inexpensive. And but yeah, she works for $6 a day, and she's happy to have a job. I got another girl over there named EJ, Eva Jean, and she works in an office over there in Iloilo City. And she makes about $8 a day working in an office as an office manager. And I don't know anybody over there that makes more than $350 a month. Not a one. And I know a lot of people in the Philippines. Different world over there. So when not EJ, but Jenny told me she was making 296 pesos a day and she was thrilled to have the job, I said, you do realize if you came here that I can have you working the day you get here under the table, making 4,000 to 5,000 pesos a day. She lost her fucking mind. I work for 296 pesos a day. I come there, I can make 5,000 pesos a day. I said, probably more. I said, I'm giving you the low estimate. You would make at least 4,000 to 5,000 pesos a day. So everyone knows 1 peso over there, 50 pesos is about $1, give or take a couple of pesos, depending on the currency exchange. And it's a whole different world over there. I mean, it is called a third country world for a reason, third world country for a reason. And it's just two different worlds. And I wish every girl over there that wants to come over here and get a better life could come. I would let them all stay here. But I only got room for 10 of them. And Lisa. Lisa can keep them all in line. She can let them know who's boss. And somebody be in charge of cooking, somebody in charge of cleaning. We'll pick which 4 sleep with me a night. I'm gonna lose friends left and right over that one. So, I'm a harmless old man. I've had all the sex I ever want. Yep, they know I'm lying. So all right. No, I'm a cuddler and a lover. That's all I am. I'm just a cuddler. I'm an old man, for crying out loud.
Lisa says pissing people off means things are being done right, and she's saying she's loving the 100 show.
Well, fantastic. I'm glad she still hasn't said if she's going to send me a friend request on Facebook or Twitter. I'm going to be hurt if she don't do it. I'm going to be hurt.
It's like she's teasing you, you know?
It is. She's my mystery girl, and she's keeping me in suspense. I don't like this. To be my 10th girlfriend, she should just come right out and say it. Hey, I'm your 10th girlfriend, but I'm number 1, is what she should say. She should establish dominance, claim the number 1 position, and the other 9 got to fall in line, and she runs the whole show.
Let's see. She didn't put anything back yet.
Well, we better wrap this up, and if she writes me, she writes me. We've been doing this shit for a long time, and I'm actually starting to get tired. I'm a fat old man who needs a nap, and I need to watch my Cincinnati Reds. So,
Mr. Bolin, I appreciate your time. Really,
this way better than you deserved. Fuck you, Del Wilkes. Fuck you, Peggy McGoogle. What was her name?
Jeannie Clark.
And definitely fuck Buff Bagwell. No, it's but if I don't beat them do you know what their views were? Do you know where they fall in line? Obviously that would probably be 3 of your higher rated shows, I'd guess.
Yeah, Jeannie Clark was the highest rated interview with like 165 views.
Yeah, I'm going to destroy that. She'll be beaten by the end of the week, if not sooner. She might get beat tonight. So yeah,
Let's
Jeannie's
hope
going
so.
down, and the rest of them are going down too. Jeannie, your spot is gone. You're fucked. I'm the king around here, and you're about to see why. If I can't get 150, 160 views on this show, fuck America. That's all I'll say. I can get 5,000 on Facebook, and I'm going to settle for 160 here. Bullshit. If I get less than 160, something's up. YouTube's fucking somebody, and it's me. That's who it is.
That could be, you know what? It
So
very
she's
well
going
could.
down. She's going down. I got 160 fans in my bathroom. I ain't worried about this. We got this shit covered. How many views we got tonight? How many live views we got?
We've had between I've seen 10, 12, 14.
All
You know,
right.
it's
Yeah,
fluctuating on that area.
she's going down. She's going down. Because even my shows don't get a shitload of live views on YouTube, but by the end of the week, we do pretty good. So we'll be all right.
Oh,
Jeannie's going down. If she don't, I'll never be back on this show again out of embarrassment.
Blake came through here with one more question for you,
All
and
right,
it's something
one
he
more.
really wants to know.
One more. And if Lisa has one more, I'll answer hers too. But other than that, everyone else is fucked. I'm tired.
He says, when are you going to do another book?
I don't know. It's been talked about, and I talked with my co-writer the other day. We had dinner at Mark's feed store, and we talked about a second book. But he just wrote David Schultz's book and wrote it for him, which is pretty much what he did with mine. I told the stories, and he wrote it. And he's kind of swamped right now. Even if we started tomorrow, it would take a year to write the next book and actually get it put together, have the artwork done, publicized, and all that good shit. It would be a year to a year and a half before any fans would see it anyway. So it depends if either of us want to take the time to do it. The profit on it is good. I had profited over $5,000 before the first book had ever been sold because of all the sponsorships I sold for it. I had fans pay $50 to be in the book. They could write a comment about me, and it got put in the book, and I charged $50 a pop for it. And plus, we had sponsors that bought to get mentioned in the back of my book. So before I had sold the first book, and this is after paying for production, paying John Cosper to write it. The day my first book went out for sale, I'd already profited $5,000. And they say most people do not do that. Most people start in the hole, and they have to sell 1,000 copies before they profit $1. Well, not me. We had profited over $5,000 the day the first book was sold, and then everything has been profit after that. And you know the profit margin's good when you sell the book signed for $29.95. A lot of times Jimmy Cornette signed a lot of those books with me. He don't do that no more, by the way. And you know the profit margin's good on those. I don't know if most people know what a book sells for, and I'm not going to tell them, but the profit margin was good. So that's why, but I had to sell 5,000 books in order to drop the price because my people control the price of the book, which is on Amazon.com. So if you live in another country and you don't want to send me $19.95 for a signed copy of my book, you can get it on Amazon because it costs a fortune for me to mail it to you if you live in another country. So the best thing to do is order it on Amazon, and you can get it for like $15. Otherwise, if you want a signed copy, you can pay an extra $5 and get it from me in America. And I think I charge you like $3 to ship it to you. So not too bad. And plus, you'll get a little signed picture in there too, and I'll personalize the autograph in the book. So, and when I die, it'll be worth a lot more that way. And who knows? I could drop dead tomorrow the way I feel right now. So, because I'm tired, I'm exhausted. This might be my last show ever. I may not even live to do another bowling alley. Because if Lisa breaks my heart, I'm going to die of heartbreak tonight. So, Lisa, friend request me. Tell me how much you love me. Tell me how gorgeous I am, even if you don't mean it. Build my ego and help me live another day. That's all I want, Lisa. That's all I want from you. One more day. One more day.
She's got two.
I love my Lisa. I love my Lisa so much. My other 9 girlfriends are going to be pissed.
Oh man, I'm sure they got to be fuming right now.
They're gonna come here and beat my ass tonight. Is what's gonna happen, and then they're all gonna meet each other. That's gonna be scary. God damn. Woo! Could get ugly. Could be a battle royal to see who gets to beat my ass.
I'm looking here. Lisa put up, suspense, laughing my fucking ass off, and then.
Well, I'm not laughing. I don't like suspense. I'm not laughing at all.
So that's showing me right there. She's playing with
me, man. I don't believe it. She just got me wrapped around her little finger. I don't like this shit at all. No one wraps the king around their finger, but little Lisa's figured out a way to do it. So.
And now she said, "Have a wonderful night."
As long as she didn't say "have a wonderful life," because that's when you get the kiss of death, and they just tell you to go fuck off.
Yeah, she said, "Just have a wonderful night," and then Blake in here is going to bat for you. He says, "Make Kenny happy, Lisa."
Yeah, make me happy, Lisa. You heard Blake. Chris Doyle, I'm sure, wants you to make me happy. I know Paul RJ does down in Australia. I know Greg Manuel wants you to make me happy. Make me happy, Lisa. Do not disappoint me.
I want to make you happy too.
Yeah, he wants you to make me happy. Don't make me try to figure out which of the 50 states you're in and have me come to your door with roses to try and win you over. Because I don't know where you live, and that's a lot of doors to knock on. So it'd be a lot easier if you just wrote me and I gave you my address and you came to my home and got your own roses. That would be the easy way. I said, good day, Lisa. I did say good
day. Hey, you're right about that, StarMaker. And let me tell you one thing. I want to say thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate it.
I had every intention of being out of here in 30 minutes. So I guess I had a good time too.
You had to have a good time with me if you stuck around.
Well, we did. So we will do this again one day. Check back with me in, I don't know, 2025. Trump ought to be out of office by then, and I'll have no reason to bitch about him. And we'll do this again one day. So hello to all your friends and fans. Feel free to come over and join me on the YouTube network on my channel. Hopefully we get you up to 400 tonight. I feel pretty confident we will. And Lisa, it's been a pleasure. You better friend request me or there's going to be trouble. Don't make me send my other 9 girlfriends out there looking for you. Don't do it. Number one, they won't. All right. Well, man, it's been great. You have a good one, and I will see you guys real soon. And thank you for your time. You've been an excellent host. You let me talk an awful fucking lot for the last God knows how long. And I got a lot of motherfuck. Well, I got a lot off my chest. And I'm going to go watch fucking baseball. So you have a good one. And I did say good day.
You too. Thank you very much, Kenny. And if you ever want to come back on the show, you're more than welcome.
Probably not. I said good day.
Good day. All right. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. We just had the episode number 100 celebration. And man, did I have a great time. Kenny StarMaker Bolin, everybody. Thank you to Kenny so very much for a wonderful show and a very memorable 100th episode. So thank you to Kenny very, very much. And ladies and gentlemen, I am just truly honored. Even Rocky's in here saying that Kenny kicked ass tonight. Rocky, he did. Kenny Bolin is truly, truly awesome. And I just want to thank him again for making such a wonderful, wonderful episode number 100. This is my highest honor that I've ever had on the show. And to actually have Kenny, on the stream face to face to where you guys could see him, that made everything, just absolutely great. I'm blown away, and I can't thank Kenny Bolin enough for being here. But first off, we gotta before we close out here at the end of number 100, we gotta we got to play this. This has been a staple of the show for so long now. Before I close out here tonight, and before I close out here tonight, and leave you guys, I want you guys to hear from Mr. EC3, the newest NXT superstar. He's been doing the intro and the outro for the show for a while, so I want to play it for you, and then we'll head out of here and close out episode number 100 of the Beyond the Ring with Big T Wrestling podcast. But first off here, let me pull this up again. I will try to have Kenny on the show in the future, hopefully sometime again. He told a lot of great stories. I hope that you guys enjoyed what he had to say. Go on over to Kenny's Facebook page. Check out all his merchandise, his Bolin Club merchandise. Become a member of the Bolin Club and support Kenny and buy all his interesting stuff that he has. And I guarantee you're going to be happy with his products. So go on and check out Kenny Bolin's merchandise. Buy some stuff from him. Support the Bolin Club. And right now, guys, let's hear from Mr. EC3. And then I'll be right back on with you to close out episode number 100. So I'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Here's EC3.
Hello, this is EC3 of TNA Wrestling, and you are so very fortunate because you are watching Beyond the Ring with Big T.
All right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We just heard from the man himself, Mr. EC3, Ethan Carter III, the newest NXT superstar. All right, guys. So I hope that you all had a great time tonight, that you enjoyed Kenny StarMaker Bolin. I know I did. I know I had a absolutely fantastic night. And WrestleMania week is here. So let me throw in a few things about WrestleMania week because I got to keep you guys covered on that as well. We just celebrated episode number 100. As far as your WrestleMania coverage, I'll come back tomorrow with NXT TakeOver New Orleans predictions and WrestleMania 34 predictions. That'll be tomorrow night sometime. And then on Sunday, we'll see what happens. I'm hoping somehow by some miracle I can try to make it out to New Orleans, but I don't know 100%. If I don't, then I'll come on and do the WrestleMania review. Maybe I'll even do a whole WrestleMania commentary for 7 hours so you guys can hang out and we'll just have a good old time watching WrestleMania. Something like that. We'll have fun with it. And then, of course, the WrestleMania review. Then, of course, your content next week goes back to more of the same. Raw Review Monday, SmackDown Live Review Tuesday, and Wednesday NXT Review and News and Rumors Report. So we got plenty of content coming up here. But again, guys, Kenny StarMaker Bolin in the house tonight gave us a history-making show for episode number 100. Lisa even says here, once again, great show for episode number 100. And Lisa, reach out to Mr. Bolin. He wants you to follow him on Twitter, friend request him on Facebook, and go and reach out to him. He's waiting for you, Lisa. See, now I even got to go to bat for Kenny on this one. But yeah, guys, absolutely incredible show, and thank you again to Mr. Kenny StarMaker Bolin. But I will see you guys tomorrow night for NXT TakeOver New Orleans preview and predictions and WrestleMania 34 preview and predictions. Your WrestleMania one-stop shop is right here on Beyond the Ring with Big T. And if you guys want, let's see, Rocky says, great show, T. 10 out of 10. Have a good night, man. You too, Rocky. Lisa says, you've been to many WrestleManias. It's okay to miss one. Lisa, normally I would agree with you, but when you're looking at possibly the biggest WrestleMania of all time, I mean, you're talking Shinsuke Nakamura, AJ Styles, WWE Championship. For me, my dream to see Stephanie McMahon wrestle for once in my life. She's finally wrestling at WrestleMania for the first time ever in that mixed tag, with her and Triple H and Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle. Then you got John Cena and The Undertaker. We all know that's going to happen. I mean, there's no doubt about it. That will happen. And the card is like, just a who's who of great matches, and that's what's bothering me most about this one. If I would have been in this predicament for last year's WrestleMania, it wouldn't have bothered me, because what would I really have missed? I would have missed Brock Lesnar and Goldberg only wrestling for 4 minutes or 5 minutes. I would have missed Triple H and Seth Rollins, which is just a okay match. And I would have missed Roman Reigns beat The Undertaker, which, that wasn't a great match either. So, I mean, I just wish the roles were reversed, and this was last year's WrestleMania. This one's really bugging me because everything that I've said that I've wanted to see as a fan, it's like WWE is putting at the forefront for this year. And I can't help it. It's just one of those things that's getting to me. It really is. I got to be honest, but I appreciate your support, Lisa, your positivity, and I appreciate everyone that came here tonight to listen to me and Kenny StarMaker Bolin have a great show tonight. And you guys have a great night, and join me for my next shows. Of course, NXT TakeOver preview predictions. That's going to be episode 101. WrestleMania 34 preview predictions. That'll be episode 102. So that's why. See, I worked up a big surprise for you guys tonight. And that's why I didn't do news and rumors this week, because I didn't want news and rumors to be episode 100. I wanted episode 100 to be the special show that all of you deserve. And thanks to Mr. Kenny Bolin, the biggest star that we've ever had here on the show. He made that happen for me and made that happen for all of you tomorrow night. Made that happen for all of you tonight. And if you guys can, like Kenny said, let me check the subscriber count. Let me see if we got any more subscribers before I go on and say this. Where we at? I want to take a quick look at my subscriber count here. Give me one quick second. Here. Oh, we're at 398. Someone else subscribed, like Kenny said. Everybody out there, hit the subscribe button. Get us to 400 here. We're getting close. So, we're 2 away now before WrestleMania 34. We're approaching that goal. We're 2 away. We're at 398. So if you're watching and listening, if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe right now. I promise you will not be disappointed. Look at the content that was delivered to you tonight. All thanks to Mr. Kenny StarMaker Bolin. And what was a great show. Honestly, my favorite show that I've done. I love Lisa's positivity, and I really do. She's like, I understand, but if you can't make it, it's not the end of the world. I can't help it, Lisa. I feel like the world around me is kind of ending, I feel that way. Believe me, it's got me bent out of shape, but I appreciate your positivity. Lisa says gained 1 tonight. Yes, we did gain 1 subscriber tonight. And we'll be back for a couple more shows before WrestleMania 34, so I hope that everybody is going to jump on the bandwagon here and subscribe. I'm looking very forward to it, and giving you the WrestleMania 34 coverage that you guys deserve. And believe me, predictions are coming for both NXT and WrestleMania. All of the review for NXT TakeOver, I'll be giving the review for WrestleMania 34. I'll be giving So you got jam-packed content with WWE, but you also have jam-packed content with me. And I just want to say a quick shout-out thank you to everybody that has supported me, like Lisa's been supporting me since day one. Thank you to everybody that subscribed. Thank you for everybody that listens to the show. Thank you for all the new listeners. And, we made 100 episodes on the audio podcast, and we're going forward. I've been doing this for 4 years and then started the podcast version 2 years ago, and we're making it work, and we're kicking ass here. And thank you so very much one more time to Mr. Kenny StarMaker Bolin for coming on here and making episode number 100 truly memorable and truly special, and one that we will never ever forget. Thank you, Mr. Bolin, so very much. And I'll see you guys next time. And yes, there will be a next time. That'll be for your NXT preview and predictions and your WrestleMania 34 preview and predictions. And then, we'll break it all down there. So I'll see you guys next time. And just like always, guys, I'm your host, Big T. And I will see you at the matches. Take care. I love you all. And good night, everybody. Oh, Lisa says, love you. Love you too, Lisa. I love you. Thank you for your support again. And all of you, take care. I love you all. I'm your host, Big T, and I'll see you at the matches. Good night, everybody.